We're unmuted.
All right, we're gonna call to order the town of Telluride, Colorado. Town Council Retreat. It is Thursday, August 6th, 2026. It is 9:06 a.m. We are here at the Public Works Conference Room at 1370 West Black Bear Road today, and this is also hybrid. First item on the agenda is a call to order starting to my right.
Ellen 11.
Joel Stone.
Kristen Purple.
Ashley Von Sprecken.
Dan Henry.
Mario Stark.
And myself, Teddy Erico. And after that roll call, that's gonna lead us right into our one agenda item, which is work sessions. And that is 1A, our 2027 Town Council Goals and Objectives. And with that, I'll hand it off to Zoe.
So I will just start off, just as we have a couple new council members that haven't gone through goal setting before, just kind of give a foundation of how we should be setting our mind as we move through these goal settings. The purpose of this retreat and how it's going to lead into the 11th is really to take a first look at the goals. We had the one-on-one meetings with all the council members. Those have been incorporated, whether they are incorporated with multiple sentiments to try to create one sentiment, or you'll see yours individually. They are reflected. You'll see in the sheet, there'll be a checkbox if it was part of the one-on-one discussions. We also met with staff after to see if there's anything else that needed to continue on or that really should be highlighted. And you'll see those on there as well. So we're gonna go through all of these and see if there's any that we can there isn't alignment on as a full council that we can kind of take off the list. So that when we have our discussion on the 11th, it will focus really on some of the ones that we're all aligned on. I don't know if you want to touch on any of that, Teddy, before I go into some of those pieces.
Yeah, I think it's good for us to go through what each of us think is important, and some of it is goals that maybe we haven't made as much progress on that we need to really jumpstart. And some may fall back into the rearview mirror a little bit until we can prioritize it based on, again, what we feel as council, but also trying to understand the efficiencies and effectiveness of the department heads. Zoe is top of the pyramid. Kevin is top of his pyramid, and trying to set them up for success based on their workloads, timing and things like that. So I think it's a little bit of a combination to make sure we know what we need to get done, but we don't overwhelm the staff too much and lose that effectiveness.
Perfect. Okay, so just kind of a reminder, we'll go over again this foundation, so we're all on the same page of how to move through these. These discussions, these are it's a high level review of council priorities to really have strategic direction for 2027. As we move through the budget process, they'll get honed in through available revenues, project costs, staffing considerations, and other implementation factors as it gets refined through the budget process. So this is the foundation, but the big bulk of the work starts now to help with those conversations. Also, just as a reminder that this is not everything the town is doing. We, of course, our staff is doing so much more beyond what the goal is here. But we select these items and we'll define a little bit more when they have large impacts, whether that's a staffing impact, a budget impact, or we're calling a political impact. So it really has an impact on the community. And that's kind of why these ones are highlighted. I'm going to let Patrick kind of go through and just lead us a little bit more on some of the foundational pieces that you guys should be taking into consideration and then laid out into the memo.
Great, thank you. So going back, even when I was city administrator before, and one of the things I really learned as I was working with my community at that time, of developing a strategic vision in that plan, and then into DOLA, spent a lot of time. In fact, some of you have seen some of the trainings that I've done with that in regards to really keeping you guys at that strategic visioning side of things, right? So that's why you've already gone through and created a vision and a mission for not only you as the council and what you do, but the staff has done a similar thing. And the reason being is a lot of that is to set your long-term views, right? And that whole piece of what you're supposed to be doing. And then as Zoe was just talking about here a minute, the critical part of how the pieces all work together, us collectively as an organization, you all as the the elected officials of the community, right? You're the ones that the community voted for and see and believe in your vision for the community and expect you to take it in a particular direction, right? We as staff then, it's our job to carry that out. So really understanding that separation, and I say as elected officials, you always get the benefit is you get to operate at 35,000 foot elevation, right? You're the visionaries. You're the ones that are coming up with the ideas. Where do we want our community to be? What are the great things that we have that we want to be able to retain, but where do we see it going in the future? That future piece is the really difficult one, because I'm sure you all have your crystal balls you were issued when you were sworn in, right? To help you see what the future is. Charles, yours is still on back order, but it's coming. But it's really important that you guys need to be looking to the future and staying at that high level. Don't get bogged down into the little nitty gritty day-to-day things. That's our job, to take care of those and support you with that vision that you guys are creating. But we look to you to create, and the way I always describe it is the North Star for the community, right? This is where we're going with the decisions we make. Another thing I always do when I'm talking with elected officials and training is always, always keep in mind, you have to be looking out in that future. When you're making decisions, even in a regular meeting, yeah, you are making a decision that impacts today, but your decision impacts the community a year from now, it impacts the community 5 years from now. It will have impacts on our community 25 years from now. And so you have to be kind of always one eye to the future of where you're going with things and what is the pieces that are doing. So in summary with that, a lot of it is you guys are creating the what and why. What is it we want to do and why we want to go that direction? And then you rely on the staff to say how and what it's going to take to get there. All right. So you say, we want this piece, and then we'll provide and say, okay, here's the steps to achieve that. These are the actions that need to take place. Here's the costs that are going to be associated with those, or the resources that are going to need to be with those things. But once again, that idea of you're setting the long-term North Star vision of where we want to go as a community. And then why we do a lot of this planning and why we start in this is, once again, when you have that vision of where you want to go, you guys know this, every meeting I've attended so far, not only in person, but online prior to starting here, you get, everybody walks in the door and they've got, this cause or this matter that's really important. And to them, it's important. It might be important to the community. But because of the resources and the time and the efforts it take to achieve those things, you've always got to measure those things once again against that vision and what your plan and strategy is. Because there's a lot of work, and that's where it goes into all of these values and everything that are already been created is, okay, we want to go there. What's it going to take to go there? And if we get that thing that comes from the side out of nowhere that we weren't anticipating, it could really easily distract you from that goal of where you want it to be. And next thing you know, all of a sudden you're chasing and reacting. And I know that's something that's come up in a lot of the conversations, is how do we get away from being so reactive and be more proactive on these things? And sometimes it gets hard. Once again, with elected officials, I tell everybody, the hardest thing you'll ever have to do is tell somebody no, right? When they come in and they're talking to you for an hour, in a meeting, and then you have to go, yeah, I appreciate that, but does that really align with our vision? Does that really go with what we're trying to do with the resources we have, with and those resources, once again, and we'll get into much more of this. Obviously, we know on budget, we're talking about the financial resources, but we're also looking at what are the resources we have in regards to capacity of our organization. Do we have the staff to do what we're trying to do? Do they have the skills and the tools they need to try and do what we're trying to accomplish? So you really want to keep that always in your mind, so that when you do get one of those things that are those one-offs, you can weigh it to what is our goal, what is our North Star that we're trying to achieve. But then you can adjust and adapt with that. And sometimes they do a little, right? Somebody comes in and they got an idea that we maybe haven't considered or discussed in a while. And we're like, okay, that really aligns with us and, our quality of life goals and values that we want to see for the community. Let's incorporate that. Other times they'll come to something and you're like, that's wonderful. That's great. but it doesn't align necessarily with our values. And that's where you make that judgment. And sometimes you have to say no with that. And then the no goes not only to citizens, but staff. You know, we're not innocent of that ourselves either, sometimes saying, hey, we think this would be a great idea. We should be weighing it against that vision and goals that are already there. But sometimes we even need that reminder from all of you to say, does this really align with that? So as we work through all of these things today, really rely and focus on that of it's not just about what we want to accomplish in 2027. We have a lot of things that we've already been working, that we've already been laying the groundwork. We all know some of these things take multiple years, but it's all, what is that long-term vision we're trying to achieve with our community?
Thanks, Patrick. Just kind of along with that, you know, and I'll just say a little bit more bluntly too. There's push and pulls with these goal setting. Last year when we came to you, I looked back, we came to you with 63 goals for discussion. We ended with 80. Let's not do that this year. We have 63 goals for discussion. I think we should reduce them. And here are the reasons why. When we look at the different capacity elements, political capacity, I think, is something that we haven't really brought to the forefront of our minds. Staff spends a lot of time engaging with the community, championing whatever your goals are, whether it's independent meetings, phone calls, forums, so on and so forth, to make sure those are successful. The more things that we have, the more burden it is on staff to balance those things and maybe even take away some of those opportunities as well. So you really need to focus on, if we're gonna be doing something, let's make sure we're gonna have time to give it our all and not overburden staff. So if there are things that's a nice to have, not need to have, then maybe we can move past that for this year. And look at that at a different time when it is a need to have. Of course, we need to ensure that long range planning, so that positioning piece. But you know, we'll talk about that as we go through each of these goal settings. I also kind of want to remind you the additional impact of that for council is when we limit our goals for the year, which is good to do, you will have the constituents come to you through the year. Council staying strong on understanding that balance and the timing of things, being able to communicate that to constituents, that will fall on you. If there is a time that we need to raise something that isn't a goal, it's a give and take. We will ask you to take something else off to reprioritize that other piece. So know that that's kind of going to be your aspect of when we move through these goal settings. Also, just when looking at this coming year, a couple things. One, it's going into an election year. There's always an added level of that public or political capacity when we are heading into election year. So just kind of keep that piece in mind too, that what we feel now will most likely be amplified, excuse me. Also, our constituents.
Do you mean this fall?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Next year too. It's next year. Next year, yeah. So next year is what I'm talking. So what we do this year,
Yeah, okay.
it starts now for the preparation of next year's. Yep. Also, our constituents, whether we feel it or not, are more engaged than they ever have been. Our communication strategies are really kind of take place. Thanks to COVID, more people are tuning into meetings via Zoom and so on and so forth. That is why we are getting so much public input, and it will continue to grow. And that's a good thing. But, you know, I was talking to staff before, and we used to just post our agendas in paper in town hall, you know, but now we have it readily available. We're doing, you know, people are more engaged than they have been. And so we need to kind of take that into account on that staff capacity piece and so on, because it's taking us more time to do things than ever has before. So just kind of setting that groundwork. Hopefully you guys looked at your memo, so I won't kind of go through all of the history of things, but I
Can I
think
ask a question
yeah,
about the mission and the vision?
yeah.
How often does that get updated? I know that it's there and previous councils have written it and
Yeah.
talked about it. Like, when does this current council get?
If
to
you
weigh
guys
in
would
on
like to
at some point, I
talk
mean,
about that.
and
Mhm.
not to get off tangent here,
It's
but
your vision
moving
and
forward
vision.
in the goals.
I think the objectives did it. I thought that we revisited it when we were brought on, Teddy and Elena. Don't you guys remember doing that?
So it's 2.5 years ago,
I feel like.
years ago.
annual update or something?
I mean, we kind of go over in these discussions.
I don't think you wanna update
Yeah.
that frequently, because that kind of like, the point of having the mission and the vision to me is like, those are like multi-year,
I
long-term.
get it.
Updating every year can get a little
No.
squirrely.
You're right on
Yeah.
that. So most communities look about every 5 years, you'll see that.
Okay.
Because once again, you're looking at the transition, the natural progression that you have on elected boards. The idea is as new, you get a couple of new members on, they're gonna learn from the people who have already been there. This
So
is
in
the
2.5
direction we're
years,
going.
look at these
And
and
then,
maybe
yeah, exactly.
come again.
I mean, if there's specific things that you feel
I
like,
just asked a random question, like,
I think we're all willing to listen, but I do agree with Ashley that I'm
Yeah.
not gunning to revise it at this
Okay.
moment.
And they should be
About
pretty,
every 5 years.
they should be pretty broad, like, our mission and our vision are not like individual things that we're gonna do, so it's like,
No, I understand.
there's probably isn't a lot in there that we would change.
Yeah.
And the reality is that if every 2 years, as you changed your council composition, if you adjusted your goals, the chance of success with your goals would probably drop considerably. Because you would just be going so sideways through it all.
Yeah.
And I can give you examples of a lot of communities across the state, including in our region right now, where they've had significant turnover on their elected boards, and now they're going in a completely different direction.
Like what kinds of changes?
City of Montrose, look at right now, what they're going
Oh,
through
yeah.
dramatic
Right.
changes at the moment because of an election that they're taking. And it's going from, Montrose for a long time was a community with a pretty solid vision and foundation and that they've been working for. This last election just changed that and they're really retracting on a lot of things that they're doing. They're divesting a lot of trust and structure that they have, that they've had for 20 years have been really successful, and it's creating a lot of disruption with that,
Like
so.
more anti-growth or something?
More anti-government, let's put it that way, what is an example that's there and not, and really creating a divide between the trust of elected officials and citizens and staff, which is unfortunate, because in the end, once again, it hurts your community. You can have disagreements. I mean, you guys do already, right? But that's why you have that North Star, that agreed upon North Star is we all have these shared values for our community. And we may disagree on some of the pieces to get us there, but in the end, we're all going the same direction because that's what we want for our community.
Thank you for the long answer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so before we dive into this, a handful of you already kind of know the structure, but I just want to make sure we're all aligned. So we have it separated out into focus area groups, and those are kind of to frame that vision and guide that high level, planning. They're not department specific, they're just unifying the priorities. Then under each focus area is the next tier of goals. So goals are help define, they're a little bit outcome oriented priorities within each focus area. And then the bulk of what we're going to talk about is the action item. So what you hope to see for this coming year. Usually we like to see them specific and measurable, time bound, to kind of what this year looks like. Additionally, new this year, because I again wanted to really have better understanding of what each goal looks like. We put some additional categories in them as well. So we have, the status, which is similar. Is this a new goal for this year? Is it a continuation from the prior year? A good example is, like our car hinge development. That is a 30-year process that continues to build year over year. Is it a rollover? Is it something that we were hoping to accomplish this year that doesn't look like we're going to be able to, so we're going to roll it into next year? And that's how I presented to you guys in the packet, is to kind of show that alignment of goals that were linked to growth from the previous year, and left gaps when we didn't have any that linked to it. And then the new goals are kind of below, where they would have been linked to the 2026 goals. But like I said, new this year, I added in a priorities section. In no way did I want to define anything as a high, medium, or low priority. Everything has a different sentiment for our community and constituents. So that's not how, one thing that's a high priority for one person is a different priority for another. So that's not how we're defining it. But how I want to define it is it an operational priority? Does it require prompt attention due to legal, financial, safety, operational, or service impacts? Is it a strategic priority? It's an important initiative intended to actively advance, but has greater flexibility in timing, scope, and implementation, and then future consideration. These are items that might provide the community organizational value, but could be maybe explored or advanced as timing, information, or funding or other things apply. So we kind of gave our sentiment. I will leave it up to you to readdress that, but I've held the initial conversations. And then the sequencing. This is more for the public to understand kind of where we are in some of these. Again, car hinges is a great example because it takes a long time within the position phase, the development phase, to finally get to an advanced phase. So I think that would be helpful, like when we were talking about the oval resurfacing project. If we had it shown that we are advancing it this year, maybe people would have understand really where it was. Because now we're going back to the development phase now, which is an additional, I think it's about 50 grand cost to take that step backwards. So to really make sure people know where we are in some of these phase approaches.
That's part of the evolving piece of the goals, right? I mean, if 5 years ago, people wanted to pave it for hockey or for basketball or whatever, and now the constituency now wants grass instead. I mean, it's a lot of it is based on public input because that's what we're here to do what the public wants.
Yes. And and I think to that point is we had an open house. There were times for that conversation to be had even past the master plan project where we talked specifically about the oval, that the input would have been valuable at that time instead of when we were about to start construction. So there's plenty of times for that input to be more strategic, not to negate a changing of community.
Mhm.
And the important piece too, that you guys will have to deal with council is at times you will continue to hear from the community. The foundational documents are still important because there are voices that were heard that are still valid, but not heard in current conversations too. So you guys will play that.
And you give like a specific example for that, because I was on Parks and Rec, at that point in time, 5-ish years ago, there was an outcry for more pickleball courts. There just was, and there was an internal struggle that was a little bit more profound than it is now between tennis and pickleball. But when we got to the final step of the oval, those pickleball supporters just disappeared. And whether they're gone or they just didn't want to fight the political battle, everyone could come to their own conclusion. But that's kind of the change that happened.
I think the demographics of the town changed rather dramatically given COVID, so
I agree.
a lot fewer families have the smart car schools, but.
And then just adding to that and just putting in the complication of your guys' job. And it will continue to change. So whatever goals, the pickleball courts that don't need today might be needed for your aging community that you need to plan for later, And so those are the things that you'll be balancing. Yep. Okay, well then I will jump into discussions if we all feel good. Don't have any additional questions. So in the memo, I laid out kind of how I'd like to do our discussions. I'm hoping that we can be quick through the focus area and goals, but I just want to give the opportunity that everyone feels that our focus areas that are currently there accurately reflect your broader priorities and appropriate structure. So I'll start there. Does anyone see any opportunity for changing any of those? Kristen?
I would like to see preserve community as the number one objective. And just not to change any of the 5, but possibly look at rearranging the order of the goals as the Roman numerals. So there's infrastructure, community, down the line. I think all of these are basically here to help us preserve our community. So I think that's.
I mean, is this a hierarchy? Cause I just interpreted it as.
It's not intended to be a hierarchy.
I'm just throwing my feedback out there.
Yeah.
It's not intended to be a hierarchy, but
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
if it's not I didn't look at it as a hierarchy either. If you want it to be, then number one should probably be the economy based on the community survey.
yeah.
I mean, and I don't think, necessarily, to me, I think it's probably not that effective to try to figure out what should, the hierarchy. It's just like, let's figure out what our goals are and try to balance them all and not really present it as a hierarchy question.
Okay.
Yeah, like I would rather this not be seen as a hierarchy because I think it's all intertwined, right? Like we can't preserve community without a thriving economy.
Or
And
critical.
we can't have community without infrastructure,
Yep.
so like I wasn't,
Or
and that's why,
inclusion, I get it. Like-
and that's why I asked, like, are we supposed to view this as a hierarchy, because that's not the lens.
No, that's not the intention,
Okay.
but. Was that all your question was?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that, I was just gonna say, maybe we change like, maybe to reflect our intention of not making it a hierarchy, maybe
Yeah.
maybe we take away 1, 2, 3 as the Roman numerals in front, maybe they're just bullet, I don't know, like, I'm just trying to think
Yeah,
of like, is
It's
there
helpful to
a way
tie,
to represent that to
Yeah.
the community?
it's helpful to tie, I think the numbers are strictly theirs, cause the goals are then
'Cause then it's
1A,
1A,
and then
I
it's
know.
1A, you know, so it just helps. I don't know how to do that without it
Exactly.
being numbers or letters.
Yeah, I mean, I think
With
like
pictures.
a proper outline
Students
plan
better.
has
Yeah.
this format.
Yeah,
I think the fact that they're Roman numerals takes it away from being a ranking, like if it was the number 1, the number 2, the
Yeah.
number 3, it might be perceived more, but like
Yeah.
a Roman numeral feels a little removed from that,
They could have the
ranking.
animals.
I know,
Like
but,
a star.
yeah, don't make me do that with the
Smiley
keyboard,
face.
please.
Hashtag.
Yeah, Dan.
I don't feel terribly strongly about this, but one thought that occurred to me, if we are trying to streamline and make this as consolidated as possible, would potentially be incorporating number 5 into number 4. Not abandoning that, I think that is still a value of ours, but maybe not having it a highlight of an action or a focus area. And incorporate ensuring town of Tyler is an employer of choice into our economic sustainability portion of it. One thought of it, again, don't feel terribly strongly about it, but if we are trying to streamline and consolidate our goals and objectives this year, that's one thought that occurs to me.
Or it could fall under preserve community.
Sure, you could, you know,
I think you bring up a good point, because when I was looking at that, I was kind of surprised that that was like one of the big ones. I was like, yeah, that is a goal and objective, but to put it at the same.
Yeah.
At the same,
Okay.
like.
Priority is infrastructure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Well,
that.
especially given that the number of goals, not that that's a means all that much, you know, is down to 3. So
Yes.
it's like, there's not that much going on.
Yeah. I will integrate it. If you guys don't have a preference, let me kind of look at the other goals and see where it might fit.
I also,
sorry.
Yeah, I think that's
Mike,
fine, yeah.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to check with you from the staff perspective, would it feel like a slight to
Yeah,
staff
I
if
think
that
if-
got downgraded?
I think if I downgrade it to a goal, I think that's still fine. I hear what you're saying, where it is from a focus area. I think you are correct. There is great value to show that knowing that preserving staff is essential
Yes.
to make all of this work. I think that value's there, but we could put it in a goal under focus area for sure.
Okay.
So let me, are you guys good with me figuring out where to put that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. All right, moving on to our goals. Just wanted to review the goals within each focus area, confirm that they clearly define, appropriately grouped, accurately describe the outcomes that council seeks to achieve. One change that we did make, this was Ashley gave some great input. We had participate in long range gondola planning. We broadened that out to regional transportation planning. One, just to again highlight, the gondola is more than the gondola. It's our public transportation system. And there's connectivity with that with other goals that we have. So that was one change that has already been made. Yeah. So is there anything else that we would like to see from the goal perspective? Okay.
I feel like promote the mental health and well-being, and the goal there was stay responsive to community demand. That doesn't feel like, that to me feels like, it sounds like we've achieved everything that we wanted to do with mental health and we're just gonna stay the status quo. I feel
Can you
like
tell me your Roman numerals? So I
it's,
can go to-
it's 3-3.
Just let her finish.
Yeah.
So I can follow.
Yeah, it's okay. I was just saying, I think that to me was like, stay responsive to community demand for mental health services. Like, that just kind of felt like, oh, like we've done things. It didn't feel like that was like we're going to, try to hire, more mental health professionals. So we're going to provide a crisis, person that's available. I don't know. That didn't seem like a super strong.
Are you talking about the
thing.
action item
Action.
under?
Yeah.
Under it?
Yeah, the promote mental health and well-being.
Which is kind of you see the town, or, the note, but can we, so with that, only because I don't want to dive into action items quite yet, but the point for the goal, are you trying to make that you think that, tell me specifically.
That
for the
just didn't
goal.
feel like a goal to me.
So maybe
It didn't-
get rid of it?
Yeah, either like change
Yep.
what we're saying there, because when I was reading, I was like, that doesn't sound like a goal. That
Yeah.
sounds like we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
That was the 2026 action item, and the 2027 has been revised,
Oh.
unless I'm reading the table wrong.
Probably
Yeah,
correct.
So if you go to the right and look at the draft 2027 action item, so what you.
It's
just read was
still-
6, and it like has been revised, and the thing about being responsive has been removed. Right?
So there still is for, and this, Dan, this is yours if you kind of want to talk about it, but the point is,
Column F.
yeah, so the promote mental health and well-being, it was stay responsive, you're correct. The way that we kind of restructured it, and again, Dan, if you want to jump in, but yeah, go ahead. Why don't you-
Yeah, it just, is more, to the way in which I was envisioning it is a uniting value that ties together multiple efforts that the town is already doing. Instead of those sort of explicit things like the mental health professional unit that we had in Voodoo, not having that in there anymore, but the idea that affordable housing as a whole is one of the major tools in which the town promotes and supports mental health and well-being in our community, and helping it support the other actions that the town is already undertaking just through a different lens.
I might push back on that just a little bit, because I sit on like some suicide prevention boards and stuff like that in my capacity as a coroner. I think that makes it sound like as long as everybody has housing and food, there will be no more mental crises, and that's not the case, because there are plenty of people that have stable housing, have stable jobs, that still experience mental health crises. So I understand your sentiment, and obviously all those things improve, but if you gave everybody housing and stability and things like that, people would still go into mental health crises.
I guess
So,
there's a question of like, when the cause of the mental health crisis isn't something that our government can provide, is it still our responsibility to be the ones
mhm.
But-
address?
I'm saying that like there are other ways to promote mental health and well-being that and provide services for people that go beyond even this, I guess is my point. Doing this doesn't solve mental
Yeah.
health crises.
But I don't think that, okay, but that logic makes it sound as though if we don't solve mental health crises, then it's not worth.
No, I'm saying that like we should be looking at I feel like the mental health priority should be that we find a way to provide service to people that are experiencing mental health crisis, in addition to what you're saying. It just feels like there's a missing piece, because like I said, people who have stable housing, who are wealthy, they can do whatever they want, experience mental health crisis.
And that's obviously not what I'm
It would
trying to
be
say.
great. Yeah, I'm saying that like, it would be great for us to have, in addition to these things, how are we going to help people that are experiencing mental crises? I don't know. That thing just felt a little disconnected.
Totally. I'm gonna bring us back just so we keep organizing this. So for exactly the goal, I guess my question for that is, do we want to maintain a goal that says promote mental health crisis? Let's not talk about the action item quite yet and how to keep that defined. Does all of council still want to see that as a called out goal for us to work through?
I think it can be, but I think that like promoting mental health and well-being.
Yeah.
Like there needs to be a component of like, and what do you do when somebody is in crisis?
Yeah.
Like that there's a
The
support.
action item.
That there's some
Yeah.
supportive.
So we're good with the goal, but we need further discussion on the action item.
And what do you view government's role in that support?
We could facilitate and pay for a person that is available for crisis counseling 24 hours a day. We could build a mental health facility
I mean,
locally rather than sending people. Like there are things that we could do. I'm not proposing that necessarily. I'm just like, what I'm trying to say is like, I just felt like there was a disconnect it felt like as long as we give everyone housing, then there won't be any mental health problems. That's how I read it. Maybe that was incorrect.
And to your point and to Dan's point, I think both are correct. I think, and the staff note of this, because we're gonna jump into action items, is the things that we do, like housing security or things like that, yes, that it helps an element of security, helps with some of these uncertainties that can lead to mental stress. Whether that needs to be called out because it's already integrated in our other, infrastructure, economy, some of those pieces. So maybe this year, since we aren't doing a lot of the very specific things you're talking about, that goal does go away for this year because it's integrated elsewhere. That's my question for you. Or is there a specific action item?
I would agree with that more. I would say that like, it feels like the mental health pieces are getting integrated in other ways. I don't know. I just felt like that was lacking.
Yep.
Well, and to comment on that, like, we support our local nonprofits that provide a lot of these
Yeah.
services. And I think they're gonna do a vastly better job than us trying to be mental health professionals.
Totally.
Like, that's where I was kind of like, at what point is it still our responsibility? Because I don't really think the government is the best people to be administering mental health
Right.
care. I think.
But we
can
could
support-
give more financially. I guess
We
I
do support
I
financially.
hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just don't think we do a lot there. And maybe that's my own feeling.
I don't know that is our
I
role.
think it's more the county, because county does public health, as an part of public health is mental health. So, for the town to take it on.
I just feel like if we're gonna put that as a goal and then our feeling is there's nothing we can do, then we should remove it as a goal.
And this is a very similar conversation, just as a reminder, when we went through, what was it? It was, promote diversity and
Yeah.
equity and inclusion. And we decided, we got rid of that because that's integrated in everything that we do as a town. And so I think this kind of follows a similar path.
I do want to push back against removing this as a goal. Because as we all know, mountain towns such as ours do face higher levels of mental health crises and higher rates of suicide than surrounding areas. And so the conversation on what to be done is a difficult and nuanced one. And I certainly support doing as much as we feel like we have capacity for. That's a deeper conversation, but I think that keeping this as a priority is important because of that context of the challenges of our town, as you know, Ashley. And so I don't think the intention is to say that housing or mental health support is enough. This is where I view this as a holistic topic, and that's why it's important to include in the goals, because it touches so many things. I brought up housing because that is so foundational to so many people's mental health, but it's certainly not the only topic in which I wanted to discuss this, or the only lens in which I view this through.
Well, and this is mental health and well-being. Like, I think there's an element of this that, like, what is well-being? Like, does this start to incorporate some of our rec league sports and
Sure.
like, programs where, people are taking care of their health in a more broad sense that also contributes to mental health? Like, if we do keep that, is that the direction that we brought in this to kind of include more actionable things?
And here's, again, we're kind of gonna bring it back to some of these elements that I want you guys to weigh. Not everything that we have as a goal is everything we do as a town. So we do all the rec league sports, like all of this has an impact because our operations have an impact on those things. The staff note was, with this, we can't really report on it. We will be reporting on different elements of this within other aspects of the goal, like our housing or, during the managers board, what we're doing for rec league sports. So we're already kind of talking about those things. So for us, just kind of keep that in mind. So just keep that in mind of how are we defining this goal and what is the exact action? Like, I think Ashley brought up the good point of, okay, here are the very specific things that we're doing very specifically for mental health. Like, we're creating a mental health facility, or we're paying someone to be a mental health professional. That's very tied to it. Some of the other nebulous things are either integrated elsewhere that we're reporting on, or are kind of town operations. So we don't need to be, so just balance that on the realities of how you're structuring these goals.
I wasn't trying to derail. I just felt like that didn't.
You know what? Fine.
So.
No, it's a fair point. So when I look at this one, I agree with Dan, and I think it needs to be there. But where I get not confused, but question it a little bit is how do you create the deliverable, right? Like
Exactly,
what, like
yeah.
it's everything we do, I think has its impact on mental health and well-being, whether it's Parks and Rec program, whether it's housing. And so trying to create goals for it as a standalone, I think might make that very challenging for us and staff. And that's my challenge. I agree with its importance. And it's without your mental health, we all crater. But how do you turn it into, this is the action item when everything we do, I think, has it?
Because really what it would be is every quarter, it will just go up 25%. And we will be reiterating other things that we have maybe elsewhere or, put in other goals. Yeah.
This is a larger topic and then it's a can of worms I'm even hesitant to open, but because that is one of the things where it feels like that reporting system that we've utilized for tracking goals feels nebulous or feels just arbitrary. And so some of them are gonna have that. Some of them are much more concrete and do have measurables in which we can track and correlate to a percentage. It's been one of the issues I've had with our goals and objectives process.
Are you wanting them to be more nebulous or less nebulous?
I think I don't know that percentage tracking benefits me. I don't think that actually, I feel like our goal, the big stuff that we want to keep moving, we're going to keep moving on, but like how close it is a new gondola system or wastewater treatment plant system, your guess is as good as mine, but we are doing real work and we are making progress on that and we're getting closer to it. Whether it's 10%, 25%, I don't really care.
Yeah, and it's meant to kind of be, help with that discussion, but I guess the only thing I'm trying to tie into that to have be productive for this conversation is, I think that's my point, like, this goal is specifically symbolic. I think this is kind of the conversation we're talking about. Do you want symbolic goals or do you want actionable or goals? It's helpful for us as town staff that are championing these things to have action, like what are we working on this year? The symbolic goals are, yes, that's something we are all doing and working toward. So that's kind of the focus that we're talking about. I
do find the progress tracking helpful, like even if it's, not spot on, I think it's helpful to have that as a gauge of where we're at, but I think maybe there's an additional category that is just like, this is an ongoing goal and it doesn't really have maybe there's some that can fall in a bucket. Like this is one that is just a broad goal that doesn't have a percentile associated with it. And we create like another category. Cause I do agree, like, will we ever have 100% like promoting mental health? Like, no, that's not really realistic. But then, when it's the Mahoney Bridge replacement, I think those kind of benchmarks of progress are helpful. That was
okay.
my point.
I think that's great. Again, I don't want to waste I want to make sure we get through these action items, and 100% we can do that. Yeah.
These are goals and objectives. So an objective doesn't necessarily have to have a concrete response. So I like the idea. I've lost friends to suicide in this town, and I think that as an objective for our town, to keep that on our radar in our goals, I think is a good way to preserve community. So that's just my 2 cents. Thanks.
I'm gonna disagree. I think that these nebulous things are. The point of this is this is what we're going to do this year. I think that a lot of, I feel, hold on, let me finish my thought.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say is that I feel like we all sitting here sometimes feel like if it's not called out in this document, then it's not something that we care about. That's not how I perceive it. To me, I perceive it more as, what are we going to do this year? And what is the point and purpose of that?
Yep.
We are going to do and we're going to direct staff to do I feel like personally, and it's fine if we want to keep these things in here as symbolic, gesture, aspirational things, it's okay. To me, it does not feel helpful because it just ends up with a document that's 65 bullet points long versus like, here are the 20 things that we are going to accomplish this year. This is our priorities and this is what we're going to do to That's just my personal opinion. I don't feel like it is necessary to have things in here. I don't look at it as, if you don't put it in this document, then it's not something that you care about. Maybe I stand alone on that, but that's how I perceive goals and objectives.
Just a quick question to you though, Ashley, on that, would you, through that lens, remove cultivate economic sustainability and a thriving commercial core? Because that's a very much nebulous ongoing.
No, I'm not talking about
Priority.
nebulous things. I'm talking about symbolic things. I'm talking about, what are we, so we could do something to cultivate a prosperous economic core. We could say, hey, we're gonna impose a tax on vacant commercial space on Main Street, that if you don't have your space with a business in it, in 6 months, you start paying a tax. That's an actionable item that we can do. That's what I'm trying to say, is like, when I look at this should be literally the roadmap and like things that we are going to do this year versus like, we aspire to be the happiest place in the world. You're like, okay, of course we do. Of course we are doing those things. That's just my
And that's
perspective.
where vision documents help.
And I'm very happy to do this, but Zoe asked the question.
Yep.
That's my personal stance on it, is that like, these things should be a little bit more, just here's what we're gonna do this year. Here's what we're trying to accomplish versus like, of course we care about well-being. Of course we care about stuff like that.
And what I'm saying is you can just very quickly take that logic to an extreme that feels like, if you cut that line, it feels arbitrary in even the decision of where you cut that line. Because.
Of course it's arbitrary. We're deciding it.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you're excluding mental health support, that feels arbitrary to me, and so we can just disagree on where that line is, and that's fine. But I feel like you can apply that same logic to every other focus area that the town, that we've already highlighted in this work session.
But if we don't have action items for it,
Mhm,
then I think that's kind of, to me, the line,
mhm,
where the line is.
mhm.
But if we can't come up with specific things we're going to do this year, I'm agreeing with Ashley, kind of what's the point in it? And I think it dilutes the items that we're trying to accomplish.
It just makes it harder for people to
Not
understand
that they're not
what
just
we're
as
actually
important.
planning to do this
Yeah.
year, I guess is my point.
I think that's the thing.
Yeah, and it's almost sort of like almost two different categories, because if it's just like, well, if we do X, Y, and Z, it's gonna help that goal. Versus we don't know what to do to help that goal, and then how is staff gonna follow it? That's where I'm leaning more towards Ashley, but I'm in the middle of it, like, I don't wanna remove the things that are important to our community.
Mhm.
But if it's a goal and an action item for our staff to accomplish, that's the struggle I'm having, right?
The
It's like it
missions and
goes
the-
to a category of guiding principles as opposed to an action item.
Yeah, and that's the vision and mission of council. I mean, it has those elements in there as well for that purpose.
A quick final question on this and
Yeah.
whatever. Sometimes grant applications do utilize and direct from, values, goals and objectives. Would this have any impact from that?
So again, I think because it's integrated in master plans, missions, vision, there's still foundational documents that have these pieces in there. I think if our grant was to open up a mental health facility, yeah, it'd be great if that was in the goal.
Yeah,
But having the sentiment of we promote mental health and well-being, we have that elsewhere that we can.
and I was like, the mental health facility wasn't like, that's not something that I was championing. That was just an example of like, here's an actionable thing that we could, if we decided to undertake. Like, that was just, it was more of an example. I'm not proposing that, I guess, but I just want to clarify
Yeah.
for everybody.
I was kind of in the middle of this, but Ashley's kind of convinced me, even though like, I think we all agree this is important, but like, you know, one of the line items here isn't like supporting the med center, and that is important, but that's not what, we don't have much that we do as the government to support that.
Mhm.
And this kind of feels similar to me, like, of course we need health services, but like, I don't
Mhm.
think that's our role. Like, fundamentally, like, is that really what we're here to do? And I think we have things that we do, but I don't think that's fundamentally changing that, or we're trying to change that much.
I think maybe like, I know that like we have the mission and the vision
Mhm.
and stuff presented, like it almost feels like, and I don't know how we're gonna present this to the public or whatever.
Yeah.
But it feels like putting the mission like at the top, cause that to me is, it's like, that's the like,
Yeah,
the guiding light of where we're
the
heading.
current mission.
So it's like,
defined.
that then underlies
Mhm.
everything that we're doing. So it's like, that underlies the well-being of the community by fostering inclusivity, preserving Telluride unique character, and addressing the evolving needs of residents through transparent governance, reasonable or responsible stewardship, and collaboration. It's like, we don't have to call out individual things in here, because like, that's the mission, that's the direction that we're going. And then we're saying, and here's the things that we're gonna do right now to help us achieve towards these things that we're doing.
So to that point, the cover letter of the goals and objectives is always this. It's always the mission, the vision, and the values. Maybe, you know, if you're feeling like mental health is something that we need to integrate more into the values, then I can add a bullet point to the values around that. Maybe that's where this conversation is
Did you
going.
feel like that, you know, even to touch on like Dan's perspective of this, like
Yeah.
that's really what it is it's one of our core values.
Yeah.
But like, is it an actionable goal? I'm kind, like I said, I was sort of in the middle of this and I feel like I'm kind of starting to agree with that, because I can't even like come up with a suggestion for an actionable item, like we already do our case grants. We like, you know, but aside from that, I don't really know that it's our place to be mental
Right.
health providers.
I will say the value says superiority, quality of life, promote public health, environmental stewardship, thoughtful, and vibrant community opportunities. I feel like that's encompasses that, but if you feel like we need to.
Where are you there?
It's just under your values. Council.
Under quality of life.
Superior quality of life.
I felt like it is a big enough issue facing our community that it is incorporated within the, and with many different actions that the town has taken, that it felt like it was important. If people disagree, we can move on.
Can I do a straw poll?
Oh, maybe we call it out like in the goals that support mental health.
Sure.
Like maybe we add that language to like, you know, building like stable and affordable housing. Like maybe it's something that
And I've done that for
yeah,
a couple. I can't, I don't have good examples of, Maria, one of her pieces was to have, forums for, to help teach, our community a little bit more of how public finance works. Instead of having that as a strict goal of let's do that one thing, because I'm not sure where it is, but there's a sentiment of more public education and forums, so that was added into the communications goal a little bit more broader instead of kind of a standalone. So I can look at that. I don't want our goals to be like 3 paragraphs, but I think we can balance that as well.
yeah, because I think it's a value that is supported through our goals.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like
Sure.
because I don't disagree. Like I agree. I think we're all on the same page that we want people to have good mental health.
Can I get a straw poll in this direction then? We will remove it from a standalone goal, but staff will look to see where we can integrate it into some of the infrastructure pieces and other elements where promoting mental health is an aspect of it.
And
Sure.
maybe in our values where it's like superior quality of life, it says
Mhm.
promote public health.
Yep.
But maybe we,
Just add and then.
build.
yeah, I think we
well-being,
add it
that's all,
there.
Physical and mental health, maybe. There's a way to reword that.
Yeah.
Public health doesn't mean anything.
Right,
It's general.
yeah,
Physical and mental health instead of public health.
Yeah, or something else that is maybe a more proper term than physical
All right.
and mental health, but I think.
I'll provide a draft for that.
It's an important value.
I also think that maybe over the coming year, we talk about, well, what are action items that we as a
Yeah.
town can take?
Yeah.
Given the
Yeah.
context of the county having the public.
100%.
health department. 'Cause I'm not opposed to adding mental health.
No,
It's more.
But that's literally what I'm saying, is I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, of course. Like, if we have, again, so this moves into like and this is what we are going to do. Cause otherwise it's like, it underlies everything that we do.
My concern is that when we leave things too intrinsic, it gets overlooked. And I would rather explicitly call it out, because then it is us trying to put our mouths where our money is and vice versa. We're calling this out as a priority because it is a priority, and we're thinking about it and incorporating it into our actions throughout the year. And when we leave it intrinsic, I worry that it'll be too easily overlooked or left as a lower priority.
Okay, yes, Kristen.
Was this addressed in the community survey? Did the community think that we're not doing enough here, or was that something that was addressed in that survey?
Yeah, I think mental health and quality of life as community priorities were definitely part of it. And again, so yes, that's why, as the value of things. I think the underlying discussion here is not, does the community or does council think public health is important? I think the bigger division here right now is, do we have an action item for this coming year that we want to keep here? Or do we feel like it's already encompassed in other areas to bring that sentiment forward? And
And
that's
can
my
we more
point.
explicitly call it out in some of those
Yeah.
areas to highlight it, so
Yeah.
that it, to Dan's point, it doesn't get overlooked, that
Yeah.
it remains front of mind, but knowing that like, we don't have a specific action that we're taking
Yeah.
for this. We're
Yeah.
doing these other things.
Yeah.
Because it will promote better mental health and well-being for our community members and.
And I think this is a good,
Adding value.
yeah, I think this is a good foundational discussion. Just, I think it's very helpful to know how we're collectively going to move forward to this. So this offers that alignment. So can I do a quick straw poll just so that we can kind of move forward and I understand the collective direction? Does council want to currently remove this as a identified goal, make the change to the value statement, and then incorporate in current action items where we can tie in the mental health aspect to it? Okay, so that's what's gonna happen. Perfect, all right. Well then, any other questions on goals before we do move into action items? A
I
little bit
have a
more.
question about
Yeah.
the sword inclusion training, it's V.
That's the action item. So we're going back to action
Okay,
items.
so I'll come
Okay.
back to that then.
And that was last year, not this year. So I'm gonna focus on 2027 goals and objectives. Or excuse me, action items now. All right, so unless there's any difference, I'm gonna go through our each action item that we have for this coming year. And just see if there's any further discussion. Yes, Teddy?
And this will just go right down the spreadsheet.
Yep.
Right in, and discuss it in order.
Okay.
We're looking at column F, correct, not column C.
Yeah, I put it up here on the screen. I can make it bigger. And the reason is I can group them differently. So right now in here, it is a little bit different because this is all, I wanted to show the alignment of the 2026 goals. So I can use this spreadsheet, that's easier. But for here, I put all of the ones that you discussed first and then staff discussion are ones that they added at the bottom. Okay, great. Then I'll stick with this spreadsheet. Great.
It's just, and that's what we reviewed.
All right,
We
so,
just have to be in the right year.
yeah, so 2027 is the highlighted
Thanks for that.
column.
F.
Column F, okay.
Yeah.
Continue evaluating phase 2 of the Virginia Plaster Development. So we have 2A that you all passed. 2B is the potential next to it. And we're still working to model out the financial efficiencies of that project. So continuing to look at that. Everyone good with that?
That's fine.
Okay. Again, it's a strategic priority as it's something that we're still in that development phase and kind of where that falls. The next one, complete the entitlement process for the Carhenge site for housing and neighborhood serving commercial uses. Evaluate demand for commercial space and develop preliminary phasing and financing approaches that reflect identified regional housing needs. I just want to give a little bit of context. This added in some sentiment of making sure we're relying on the housing needs assessment and the regional aspects of how we're moving through these projects and what others are doing, as well as looking at the development of the commercial uses through a more formalized review of what is needed in there.
I know this is nitpicky,
Yep.
but with going through this for the community.
Yep.
I would flip Lot L and Carnage.
Sure.
Just people go in order, that
Yep.
whole argument of you can't do Carnage without Shenandoah, so why are we talking
And
Carnage?
happy
Put it
to,
in
I
that list.
will happily do that. And
And I know that's semantics,
Nope.
but for how people view it.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Okay, but other than that, is everyone good with kind of where we are? Okay. And then for Lot L, complete the entitlement process and establish a financing approach for the Lot L project, including parking, housing, childcare, neighborhood serving commercial space, and a food bank use. Determine appropriate AMI targeting for the housing units informed by the regional housing needs assessment and commence the first phase of a construction. Yeah,
My understanding was that didn't have neighborhood serving commercially. It was the food bank and the childcare, but I don't think.
I mean, I think you also work on the programming of it and as it continues to get developed, but yeah, right now, those are the two focuses.
Yeah,
of
like
that
we want
space. Yeah,
that
Kevin?
to.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's other things we can discuss that might be beneficial to the community as part of that project, and to leave it open-ended this early in the project is good. That way, if someone has an idea that. we'll
Okay, you
consider-
can leave it in. I just,
Yeah.
that was not something in the discussions that I was aware of was
Yeah.
on the potential goals for Lot L.
I think it's important too, because if you leave that open-ended, it will help staff have more of an open mind.
Okay,
You know, in the past, that, you know, not that my suggestions are right or wrong, but if you just shut it down, then they won't look at other opportunities that could be good for that project. You know, whether it's a mini rec center, whether it's an interactive center on the river trail, you know, things like that.
Should we have recreation?
And James is online if you need clarity.
Kevin
Kevin.
wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say, when you talk about specific projects, so be real mindful that some of you have conflicts.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna get into any of the details
Yep.
or any of the,
Thank you,
I
Kevin.
support this, I'm concerned about this, I want to expand this, I want to pull this back.
Mhm.
General comments, maybe you can make those, but anything specific, we're gonna have to say, all right, you need to leave.
Yeah.
The rest continue on.
that's about me.
Yeah.
And I just want to remind you, but
Thank you,
anything
Kevin.
specific,
Yeah.
physical locations,
Yeah.
entitlements, things
Yeah.
like that, think about that.
Mario made a good point. I think, adding, commercial and recreational space.
Could we keep it even broader and just say something to the effect of programming uses? Just very, like, not determined at all, just the program,
Or just neighborhood serving space.
neighborhood
Just
serving
get
program.
commercial out of it, because that gives different connotations of what commercial is, because that could be. Not that we're putting a rec center there, but it could be a rec center, it could be a coffee shop, who knows?
Yeah.
And so
So
just
just-
getting commercial out.
Neighborhood serving spaces.
Yeah.
Community serving spaces.
Nice.
Community.
The whole town.
Okay. Okay, and that's specifically for Lot L. All right. Anything else for that?
I mean, the same comment for both Carhenge and L.
Okay. All right, moving on. In collaboration with regional partners, continuing exploring land banking, property acquisition, housing development opportunities, including a mix of rental, ownership, and mixed-use housing, using regional housing data and identified needs to prioritize future partnerships and investments. I think this is a nebulous goal. However, we are always working, for that future that may lend itself to some reporting and actions, but right now it's kind of broad. Yeah.
For this one, again, it's very similar to mental health, and I don't wanna open up
Yep.
a rabbit hole for this for sake of time and
Yeah.
efficiencies. But I think the issue I have with this goal is it's too specific. Like for me, it's just maintain efforts to pursue new affordable housing opportunities or something like that, because land banking's there, but then it's also land banking. And,
And I think this one is called out specifically because of the large budget impact that any kind of land banking has. But are you saying you just want to go
So-
back to the
I'm
way
just
it
thinking-
was before and
No,
just say maintain
I'm
efforts?
trying to figure out the difference of the 2026 goal, where it was land banking, and then the new one.
This
and-
is adding in sentiment from other council members that kind of wanted to ensure some of these other elements. But we can simplify it as well.
So my goal was a broader simple, and I don't care.
Yep.
I don't say, I'm just trying to how that goal is maybe more efficient by being a quicker, more succinct.
Sure, like
we
the same
want-
it was before.
Like we just, everything, we're gonna look at everything.
Yeah.
For
Right.
housing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't need, including a mix of rental ownership and mixed use housing, like that feels like extra verbiage that could. Like if we're saying for housing development opportunities, I think that is.
So getting rid of the last that piece in the last sentence. Using regional housing data and identifying needs to help prioritize future
Yeah,
partnerships.
it's,
You need all that
Okay, great.
in the action item.
Everyone agree to that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, kind of I guess our long-term goal is to get to the 70%.
Yeah.
Housing, and so to me, that is what this goal is.
Mhm.
And that's somewhat a measurable thing
Mhm.
over time, that you say, okay, we're at
Mhm.
45% right now.
Yeah.
You know, we can track, or how close are we getting?
Yeah. So do you want, like we had in previous years, I can add in that, the master plan element to that language, or are you just gonna
Just
make it
say-
that
You
sentiment?
could just say in alignment with the.
That's what I
master
was
plan goals.
Gonna
Yeah.
suggest.
And then if the master plan changes, it still like references it.
To get more broad, do we have to say regional partners in there at that point? If we're just gonna talk about land banking? Really condense it down?
I'm fine with removing regional partners, because I think we can also land bank on our own. Like the way this is written, it implies that we're only doing it with
Yeah.
regional partners. But
Yeah.
I think if we take that out, it leaves, like our solo opportunities or partnerships.
So just continue exploring land banking, property acquisition, and housing development opportunities in alignment with master plan goals.
That sounds simple
Sure.
and effective.
Okey dokey. Great. All right, moving on. Council acting as the Telluride Housing Theory will complete the biannual review of the rental housing policies with support from third-party consultants and consider recommended policy amendments.
Can we include in there, and because we just created the new
Yeah,
committee,
Resident
just,
advisor.
Mm.
that we, and
so
input
it's
from
sort
the
of
resident advisory committee.
I like
with
that.
support from the third-party consultant and resident advisory committee.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okey dokey. All right. Okay, moving on. Is there anything else that we feel like is not within the 1A goal set?
There's lots in there.
Okay, great. There is lots. That's gonna take up the chunk of staff time and all of those pillars for capacity. All right, moving on to effectively, oh, wait, sorry. Yes, it's still going. Okay. Oh,
No, it should be an advanced and complete design.
no,
for
okay.
proposed regional
Guess
park.
no wonder this is big. Every page is double. Okay.
She likes the goals so much. she's gonna do it
Love it.
twice.
Address water and wastewater infrastructure and funding needs with regional partners. So the first one for 2027, advance and complete the design of the proposed regional wastewater treatment plant to fully conform to a selected site, accommodate long-term service area growth, meet current and foreseeable regulatory requirements, and support financial responsibility and operating resilience. Continue clear, accessible public education and engagement throughout the process regarding the project's purpose, community benefits, anticipated impacts, timelines, costs, and funding needs.
I feel it's similar to Teddy's comment on the above. I think that finalize agreements establishing the regional wastewater treatment plant and the funding and the governance should go. I know this is, again, semantics and that we're not reading it as priority, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like that should go on top.
Okay,
And then advance the complete design of the proposed region, because it's like, establish the authority, advance the design.
great.
Fine, but also you can't, how do you finance what you don't have planned for, so you don't know the scale of it?
No,
It-
they
But
are,
like-
this says finalize agreements establishing,
Yeah, like. it's not-
develop the governance.
That
And-
authority, everything
yeah.
else is gonna be
And-
impossible to do.
To that point, all of this is happening in parallel.
Yeah, and it's happening like this,
Yeah.
but just as a, like a,
For the public.
yeah, for the public,
Yeah.
that was just the comment.
Great. Anything with the wording or anything like that? Everyone's good with that?
They don't listen.
Okay, so just
Yeah.
stepping through the finalized agreements, establishing a regional wastewater authority and develop governance, funding, staffing, and transition framework necessary for the authority to pursue grant opportunities, oversee future planning and capital investments, and assume operations over time, while existing staff continue operating the current treatment plant during the transition. We'll swap them, but everyone's good with the wording of those two pieces before we move forward.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And this is my
Project is a lot, I feel. like
Yeah,
it's-
the project is a lot, and I will say, as the manager and having your one-on-ones, you gave me input. I wanted to ensure that I made sure all of that input was here, but now that we're a collective unit, you can make
Edit.
these less wordy.
Yes.
So
if you want.
I would get rid of. While existing staff continues operating the current treatment plant during the transition, like,
Yeah.
yes, we're operating the plant, that's not the
Great.
goal,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And that's kind of called out,
Sure.
that's kind of called out in the last one about the current, wait. Yeah. No, that's master plan, sorry.
I will get rid of that. That's fine. I think you're right, that that's just clear operations. I think a lot of just helping the community understand that, like, yep, like the current plan is still gonna be used and, just to dispel any confusion or, you know,
They won't read it anyway, so it's
sure. But
Just
okay,
wanted to,
I will
like-
get rid of that piece. Is there anything
Sure.
from the one, above the advanced complete design? Everyone's good with that wording?
It seems really long.
It is also very long. So the part here is the engagement piece. I think, yes, we're definitely going to be doing that. If you want to call that out, great. If you don't,
I think continue clear, accessible public education and engagement, period.
okay.
You don't need community benefits. I'm not
Yes,
saying
I
that.
agree.
We
You don't
can
have-
throughout the process.
Sure.
Fine. Okay. Anything else you wanna? All right, moving forward. Support the installation of water and sewer infrastructure at Society Turn and enable future development and ensure adequate utility service for a regional medical center.
What is?
Do we need that?
Mean,
This is,
Yeah.
so it is taking up a lot of our time from a public works standpoint to do the work on this project. It's very unique because this is within the county. It's not annexed into the town. However, it's our water and wastewater agreement through that development that council allowed them to utilize our water. So we're in this interesting place where we are helping them with that connections, but they're not. Anyway,
coordinate would be.
yeah, it's additional coordination because it's with the county, so we're coordinating within their building processes.
Cause support
And
could be
within ours.
money, it could be, you know, more.
It's staff time
Right.
that goes above kind of some of the normal things that we do in places in the county.
I just think coordinate would be clearer than. support,
Okay.
'cause we're not really-
I agree. And also,
We'll finalize.
Say it.
how do we, I mean, like, so what you just said, this is like not a property that's like in the town of Telluride. We're like doing all these, do we like track those costs in
Yeah.
any way?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's permitting costs and they still need to do all of those things for sure, but council made this a priority and agreed to that agreement. And so, yeah,
Get revenue, significant
Yeah.
revenue,
Yeah.
eventually.
yeah.
You know, this is already happening, right?
So it did not happen this year. They reprioritized some of the work that they're doing and that's why it's a rollover
Okay,
from
so
2026.
yeah, so it's not like in motion currently.
They are prioritizing other work at that
Okay.
site currently. They've done some work, like they quickly put in, a tap or a fire hydrant.
I mean, I think
Last
this is
fall.
an example of a regional medical center being a value, but not a goal that we're,
There's a lot of action items associated with
Yeah.
this for staff
And I
this
think this
coming
is-
year.
this is
Yeah.
a good example of our discussion.
This one has a lot of associated action to it for this year. Unlike the other. piece.
yeah, it sounds like we're actively doing this.
Yeah.
And it takes
Mhm.
staff time
Mhm.
and resources.
Mhm. Yes,
Okay.
For
that
the
reason, you still leaving it in there.
but I
Just,
mean,
if
whatever.
this is something, I guess, okay, it's not in motion. Is this like something that needs to,
It'd be like if our, like, my problem is, sorry to interrupt.
no,
Yeah.
I would,
My examples is gonna be, I don't know. Just trying to figure out an example of how to do it, but like if a goal of ours was to plow the streets. And we approved it, and all you have to do is plow the streets, it's not really, it's
That's-
just the implementation of it that's up to staff, so.
Staff's
that
already
it's a
doing it.
goal, that's
that's
right.
kind of what I was getting at in a roundabout way, is like, does this actually need to be a line item on our goals and
Sure.
objectives? Cause it
I
kind of just
agree.
feels like it's staff doing its job,
Yeah, I agree.
which, yes,
Is
but
Kyle in?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got any input on that, but I don't disagree with that.
And I don't wanna discount the work that staff
Right.
is doing, but if the whole goal is to try to make our list of goals efficient. And.
Yep.
An easier.
Yep.
List to tackle. We know they're doing it,
So,
Yeah, like I feel like this is just followed through with.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Kyle?
I would agree. I don't need it to be on a goal and objective.
All right,
Good.
then we will get rid of it. It's not get rid of it, it's happening, but we will
yeah. just-
not
just
call
take
it
it off the list.
Take
Okay.
a
I
vote.
feel like you articulated what I was.
I went back and forth on that one.
Yep.
the whole
Yeah.
thing. I couldn't come up with the idea, and then snowplow came to my mind, which is silly.
All right, effectively manage and control the fog into the wastewater system, protect infrastructure, prevent blockages, and support long-term system performance. This includes implementing necessary ordinances, updates to ensure regulatory compliance, strengthen enforcement authority, and align local requirements to best practices for pre-treatment and wastewater management.
Can we
Again, this-
shorten this to
Heck,
say,
yes,
implement necessary ordinances to ensure regulatory compliance to manage and control?
yep,
Like, you don't need the first, you can combine it, I guess is what I'm saying.
yeah.
To make it a goal versus like what Teddy was just saying, but like, yes, of course, we're going to continue to
Yeah, totally.
manage that. We're not gonna stop managing it.
But I think there are, whatever the fog stuff is a big issue.
Right, so
And there are
that's,
specific things that we're trying.
yeah, implement
We
the
are right now.
ordinance updates. That's what I was saying. is the
Yep,
goal.
exactly.
The goal is the ordinance, not managing.
Well,
Yeah.
to Charles' point, though, I would say like, increasing budgetary. Allocations for enforcement authority or aligning local requirements, that still requires an action on council's part.
Yeah, I'm
So
not saying get rid of it. I'm just saying shorten the verbiage to
I
make it a little shorter.
interpreted what you said as eliminating those components of it, because you had just highlighted.
No, I was saying you don't need effectively manage it, control whatever, say, implementing necessary ordinances,
Yeah.
updates to ensure regulatory compliance, strengthen enforcement, that part, like the meat
To
of.
effectively manage the.
I was just trying to
Yeah.
shorten the words. That's all I was trying to
Because
say.
you already said it in one beat, like it's
I'm heard and I can make that a little bit more concise.
thank you for putting all people's
I
thoughts into that.
I don't
I
know
see
where
where,
this,
I see where we're going.
I don't know where this landed, but weren't we exploring, collaborating with the health inspector?
So we have our own pre-treatment coordinator that we share with the town of Mountain Village that helps oversee the
Do we
compliance.
want to be collaborating with the?
We relied on them before, and that's kind of why we moved into this direction.
There's a different health inspector.
I mean, we have a dedicated staff member whose
Okay.
sole purpose is this, so I'm sure we are collaborating where we can already. And
Okay.
Kyle, I don't know if you have any-
Yes, we have actively been trying to do that coordination and it is not keeping up the pace we need. So we have to act and do more on our end because we are not getting the support, but we are still consistently trying to get them to participate. But that's why we're after getting into, recreating an ordinance around it to actually make this a successful outcome. But we will continue. Yes, there's new inspectors. We will continue to try to get them on board, but we just don't have the time to wait and to establish that relationship. We're constantly reaching out. We're just not getting what we need to support our current state of our wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
I
I
think
think that can be a really useful partnership, but if it's not happening, it's not happening, so.
I think we'll continue to look to broaden the bench where we can, but I hear on how to make it more concise, but not take away the value of this action item. Okay. Moving on. The next one is advance infrastructure reliability through an accelerated water meter replacement program to improve accuracy, enhance leak detection, support long-term water system efficiency. This is continuing from this year. This is also a big thing that takes up a lot of staff time and impacts the community. Any questions on that one? Okay. Next, update and modernize the town of Telluride water and wastewater master plans to ensure long-term reliability, regulatory compliance, and alignment with regional growth and infrastructure needs.
Is this document specific to the current wastewater treatment plant? Or will it carry?
I'll let you
over
speak to it, Kyle. I don't need to speak.
Yeah, this is a complete separate document. And this is really an upgrade from, I'm gonna say it's the 2012 master plan. And so this ties in with you know, we're gonna be doing one for both water and wastewater. Yes, it does tie into the new plant. But this really takes all of the efforts that we've done in the past 3 years on gathering data collection, hydraulic models. And this is what's going to help establish the future for priority infrastructure upgrades. This ties in, you know, our current capacity of not only treatment, but as well as collection distribution. And this specific document will really just prioritize and help us prioritize what that capital improvements needs are for the future to establish, you know, the budget for the future, as well as set rates, and, you know, tap fees. So this is a huge document for us to help establish those priorities and then paint a picture for council for that budgetary approval process.
Should we have something that says something about the financial aspect or the financial plan of this, being that that's such a big project and a lot of people are.
Well, I think
I
that's-
don't know if that.
I think that's called out already in this.
Yeah, I would say that that's more incorporated into the planning of the new
Okay.
facility itself. But
Yeah, I just,
agreed.
yeah,
So
that's fine.
people are saying that this isn't up to what we're talking about.
Oh, that's true. Because I'm not utilizing it.
Sorry.
Okay,
We're like, what are you talking about?
there we go. This is the section that we're on. Okay. So nothing on that one. Everyone feel good about it? Any questions?
Feel good about it.
Okay.
Get it done.
All right.
We're not getting it done.
All right, well then moving forward into 1C. Refine and evaluate parking plans regionally. So the first one is continue a holistic review of the parking program, recognizing the interconnected effects of changes to rates, technology, regulations, zone designations, and permit options for residents, business, visitors, enforcement operations, mobility, and neighborhood character. Advanced parking education and consistent enforcement to improve understanding of permit zones, parking procedures, and available business parking options, including permits for the Silverjack parking area. Again, this is a lot of sentiment from council members that is put into one goal. So I'll let you now discuss it.
I think something that isn't specifically called out that I see as an actionable thing is like, I know we're doing it, but improving and implementing our wayfinding and our signage.
And that is in a separate section for cultivating
Okay.
the economics too, because it touches on so many different things, but I
Yeah.
can move that from
I feel like
the
that is,
economic piece to
one of
the
the-
parking piece.
I feel like that is one of the biggest issues with our revised parking strategy is we don't have the signage to
Support it.
support it.
Yeah.
And I kind of like in retrospect, I wish we would have planned differently and had the signage installed before we made changes to parking, but hindsight, whatever. But I think that is a big missing piece of the successful changes.
That'll be talked about on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's phase
I agree.
2 of the town's wayfinding, placemaking, and signage project to improve navigation, so on and so forth. So we can move that. Is Lindsay on? I'm pretty sure phase 2 is very specific to street and parking signage. Is that
Hi.
correct?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So no, it's actually phase 1. But when we brought this to council in the spring, you guys advised that we install 2 signs instead of 3 per avenue block, which required us to go back to our messaging board and revise the entire messaging schedule. So it delayed our fabrication, but our vehicular wayfinding just went into fabrication last week. And our C2 signs, which is all of our parking for the metered zone, parking signage for the metered zone, should go into fabrication as early as next week for install before the winter season. But that's why we are delayed, just because of the revision that came through in our work session this spring.
So what is phase two specifically?
Phase two is more of our vehicular wayfinding, and then outside of the metered zone is more parking signage refinement. So
So it
it's
is still parking
correct.
aspects.
Yep.
Parking.
So
Okay,
there,
so we can
there's
leave that.
there's parking. Yeah, there's parking in every single sign phase. But it's phased, so we're not overwhelming the team with parking messaging.
Okay, so I'll move this up to, instead of it being.
Can you, can you show me where it is?
Yeah, it's under 5, cultivate let me scroll down, economy and the thriving core. And it's under community sustainability, because wayfinding has a large.
Wait, can you give me like the Roman numeral?
Yeah, well, it's 4B2. 4B2.
Not 1.
4. Roman numeral number IB.
4, 1.
I don't have numbers associated.
I thought you said.
Yeah,
1, 4.
I mean, maybe I did.
She was on first.
And I have it up on the screen.
Yeah, I mean. Even like. I don't think it necessarily needs to like disappear from here, but parking isn't even mentioned here.
So we can add a little bit more narrative, like, talking about what phase 2 is, and I can move it under parking instead of where it currently is. Is that your recommendation?
Well, I feel like it's broader than just parking.
Well, that's what I asked Lindsay on, and it seems like it is focused on street signage and parking.
No, it is not focused on
Oh.
street signage and parking exclusively. There are many sign types in every phase. Building IDs and some of our rental housing signage is also included in phase 2. So while parking is incorporated, it is not the exclusive focus of any phase.
Maybe we leave it where it is and either add parking to the list in this action item or add like signage into the parking action item. Like, I think there needs to be some overlap of those two.
I think adding signage to
Okay.
this one. I will say, I think that we can shorten this quite a bit. So continue a holistic review of the parking program, recognizing the interconnected efforts of changes to rates, technology, regulations, zone designations, and permit options, period.
Yeah, hold on.
We don't need to do on residence
Yes,
businesses, that we don't like just say,
Yeah.
and permit options, done.
Yep.
That's the holistic review.
Okay.
And then advance education and consistent enforcement to improve understanding of permit zones, parking procedures, and available business parking options, and then just say period. You don't need to, including permits for the Silverjack
Right.
parking area, because it's,
I don't disagree.
I was just trying to think
Yep.
of how we can shorten.
And then,
That.
sorry, but you want me to add
And then,
signage in?
and then say, and through and-
Signage.
and implement improved
Implement,
improved signage to facilitate, I don't know.
yeah, something.
Something, we'll word it.
Install,
Yeah. I just feel-
install
I feel like
improved
that
signage.
that is the very actionable part of this.
Great.
You know, like, how do we actually accomplish this? It's
Yeah.
the signage.
Yeah,
Or one
I
of
don't disagree, like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. I think you're gonna focus on one thing when it comes to parking.
Could you add
Be our signage.
compliance, education and compliance? Because sure, you want to enforce it, but you want people to comply, educate them, they comply, and then you enforce it, like.
What?
Is
Advanced parking education, comma, compliance and consistent enforcement.
I'm just saying, because we want people to comply.
Yeah,
Like
but that's what
yesterday I
you-
did the ride along, there's like beep, 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 no one's even done anything.
Parking
Yeah, get
education
somebody
and
to bring it.
compliance through consistent.
Yeah, I was gonna say through,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not and.
something like that.
I was amazed by that. Yes.
Right.
Well,
Everything's.
Every spot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, thanks for all of you guys doing that.
I can
Um,
believe that.
I'm not gonna take the topic now.
Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. We save that for the 11th.
Save it for the work session on Tuesday.
Such a.
Okay, I think I have direction on that wording. So, great. Anything else for that specific one?
Nope.
Okay, here's one of the can of worms that you guys should discuss if we're gonna tackle. Review the town's barricade pass program, including eligibility, issuance, communication enforcement, and opportunities to improve staff administration and operational efficiency.
From where did this arise to be on the goals and objectives? Is
This
this staff,
discussions, no,
or is there a particular?
yeah, you can look,
And I don't view this as necessary for this year, this is a nice to have, this is a nice to have,
Yeah,
but I
we
don't do
continue
this.
to look if we.
It is
can
a
improve
future
it.
consideration as it's.
Well, that's for you guys to discuss, yeah, you don't,
And I think we did have some issues
Yeah.
with people understanding
Mhm.
what their parking permits and what barricade
Mhm.
passes did, like.
it is difficult because we're very much going toward a non-visual compliance structure, except for barricade passes, and that's a hard transition, but it doesn't, the barricade passes, they're a visual,
We've
But
changed
enforcement
parking and
yeah.
similar aspects enough in the last couple of years, I don't think we need to go and change something that more or less works as
when
intended.
people are
Okay.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Unless somebody wants to cut it and convince me otherwise, but.
That's here, it wasn't me, but I've had conversations about this, is to simplify it and make it easier.
I think that I think that, yes, it's been the same for a long time, but there was the actions and like the ticketing changed. And a lot of people got
Yeah.
tickets that shouldn't have gotten tickets.
Well, or
Or-
should have, they should have gotten tickets.
Cause their cars were
Should have
paid
been.
for their
I'm
sign.
gonna
Yeah.
interrupt us on this one, because we're gonna go down the rabbit hole on
Yeah.
this. Right, and so, and this was I
'Cause
didn't
this-
put this wasn't my suggestion, but
Yeah.
this 2 years ago, bluegrass was a big hot topic for me.
Mhm.
And I don't think it needs to be a goal, but I still think that this needs
Yeah.
to be.
Can we just add it?
And if it's a I think what I was just gonna suggest is adding it to the one
Yeah.
above.
Right.
And say,
Because it
and
really is a
review
parking-
barricade
It-
passes.
It's a
Well, that-
parking program,
Well, here,
not a barricade program, and that's where we get killed on this.
I agree.
here's
You
my,
can rebrand it,
Yeah.
hang on, you can just rebrand it. And again, I don't wanna get this deep in the weeds, so we just include it up above and get it off the list. To simplify the list,
yeah,
but I think town would save itself a whole lot of grief if it was even as simple as just rebranding it the barricaded parking program. Because that's where all of the challenges came. It wasn't necessarily the enforcement, it's like I have a barricade pass to get into town and I have an A permit, and we convoluted the two things.
because we, operationally can't do both, and that's kind of, so here's the point of this.
We
It
can't.
will be a change. Pardon?
We can't.
Sure, yeah, 100% we can.
If you make the barricade pass a barricade pass
Yeah.
and not associated with parking in any way,
Yeah.
and our parking
Yeah.
remains as it is, so an A pass works and and the barricade pass is literally for entering the
Yes.
town.
Yes.
But from the,
That's the
yeah,
confusion.
and it's only the enforcement, so when I say you can't, it's because enforcing both, they're very different, so you have,
Only because you are making the barricade pass a requirement for parking.
and,
So let's just put
Anyway,
it,
the
let's
point-
just put it above.
I
Well,
think you
but-
say here's barricade pass.
Because here's the challenge, if you want the barricade pass to include parking.
Yeah.
Then you have to call it a barricade and parking pass.
sure, I'm not disagreeing with any of that.
So,
and it's
so
underneath.
so we just put this goal up above, I think we can clean this program up, I know Stephanie's
Well,
got her hand raised.
And again,
But trust me, if you give me a parking ticket.
Yeah.
And it's tied to a barricade pass,
And I
understand why
haven't
people
crossed a
lost their mind.
barricade. That's
Okay.
why we're getting upset.
so we can call it that, and we don't even need a goal if you just wanna change what it's called. But I think, again, your sentiment though is changing the program, so to allow people to utilize their current parking permits and the barricade, so you're changing the program.
I would be in
So-
favor of changing the program and having.
So that's why it's
I
a,
don't think I think it can be tied in to the upper one
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
part of the broader discussion.
Yes.
I don't think it needs to be a separate one, but I am in favor of changing the way that we're doing it, because I think we're doing it wrong.
so I think it's a separate, okay, we can put it to the top, fine, I think the sentiment, it doesn't matter. It will take up the staff capacity, the political capacity aspect, whatever change we make is gonna be a change of re-education. There's going to be a level of political capacity that you need to be comfortable with. We might get it wrong this time. We might make a change and it's still not good enough, and we've only just spent the last couple of years trying to educate people on this other piece.
And that's
So
effectively
you
my
need to
point,
be.
is that we're taking on something that is gonna take up those multiple points of capacity for a marginal gain at best.
I agree with that.
And so that's where I don't view this as a priority of that limited resource of both staff and political capacity that I wanna expend on this time.
I think Stephanie has a lot of great insight that we,
I just wonder if it will gain us political capacity. Like,
and I don't know.
This would be like a win for.
Have we changed anything or done anything?
We changed enforcement.
No. Let me finish my
Okay.
sentence, please. Have we changed anything and it hasn't received some degree of blowback or some degree of work on our end to sell the topic? It sometimes, yes, it could be improved. I am not willing to do this on this because I think it works fine for the most part. And so that is the point I am making, is this is a low priority and we are already, I would say, damn near exceeding our capacity in both terms of staff and political capacity. So I don't want to expend additional.
and I think Stephanie probably has some great insight for you guys.
Well, I definitely don't want to get into how things could change, but this has been in existence for longer than I've been here, so over 25 years probably at this point. And we haven't relooked at it, and there has been a lot that's been changing with enforcement, visual permits. It is a big lift on the administrative side of issuing passes as well. There's also a tie to the municipal code that addresses parking on town property. So they are tied together in terms of access. So staff supports looking at this, given our current context, but also is not looking to blow it up and create more political and staff time. But I do think it needs some evaluation. Whether it changes, I don't know, but at least evaluation. So I support it happening, whether it's on the goals and objectives or not.
And maybe that's the piece, how's it worded? Because it's in parking, like, I don't want us to think that it's not a parking piece, that's why it's under parking. So maybe we don't argue that.
Put it up,
Put it up above and include it in our broader conversation. I really believe that this is something that we can tackle very easily as a part of the bigger parking discussion. I feel like I have it already kind of sorted in my brain. Like, I think it's something we need to deal with, and I think it's easy
I think
for us
here,
to add it in.
I think, can I just align the expectation then? This year is a simple review.
Yep.
We most likely will not be implementing any change this coming year, but staff will take the time to review it as part of the larger piece. And that way there is no change in political capacity element, but we'll take the time to do that.
I'm good with that, and I don't wanna go down this, cause it's just a waste of time and even though the cost of it. We'll just call it a barricaded parking pass for next year.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
That will get us started off in the right direction.
Okay.
And then as we evaluate.
Wait, isn't that more confusing because then you're implying you're allowed to park in the town of Telluride?
The whole point of it though is that even if you do not leave the town, you're required to have it on your vehicle, even if you're not utilizing the barricade in
That's
any
right.
way.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is the
That's difference.
confusion.
And like a G permit doesn't, you get a parking ticket with a G permit if you don't have barricade pass.
That's right.
I still think that my point stands, that it increases, it adds additional confusion, because I think the implication is that you were then allowed to park in the town of Telluride just with that barricade pass.
But the barricade pass on its own makes it sound like you need it to go through a barricade.
As this is
Back-
not,
Go back to, with that argument, go
Yeah.
back to
We-
review, cause that
We
means there's
need to
enough
talk
of a
about
district,
it.
that's
We
right.
need it to be on an agenda, we need to talk about it.
So we'll add it
So
to
I
the
think
parking
we
one.
should
Yeah.
keep it. I don't
Review.
care.
And
I
we'll,
don't care if it's a separate line item or.
I don't care either.
all right, so I added it in, we'll put it in as a review and we will not do anything else. We'll just have further discussion on it.
Are we
Okay.
keeping it a separate item or including it
No,
up above?
I put
gonna
it
pull it
as
up.
I put it as
Okay,
an
great.
included
That's good
as an above, excuse me. Okay, anything else from a parking standpoint? Don't do it. Okay. Moving on to 1D. I don't want to confuse everybody.
Municipal
Address
buildings.
municipal building infrastructure and funding requirements. We have implemented proactive maintenance schedule. We're using asset essentials across public works, parks and facilities to improve efficiency, extended asset life and support long-term infrastructure is a goal for council. It's something that we're doing. It takes up staff time and helps with our capital planning. It's very operational, but I'll leave it up to you guys.
Well, do we have a proactive maintenance schedule?
We do, but this helps. This is much more high tech and strategic as we go, but it takes, we have to, so you go into every asset, you put in the data for the asset and has a QR code and create a large database for literally like every boiler, every single little thing that's within our facilities to track it, the maintenance schedule and life of those. So instead of having like generalizations of proactive maintenance, which we have, it's very asset specific. And
This
so,
feels like a goal and it
Yeah.
feels like an actionable goal.
Yeah.
I think it should remain.
okay, great. Any other questions or anything on that? Okay,
It can. The word proactive is important to also put proactive and priority maintenance schedule.
okay,
I just think that there's some things that should have been a high priority that got overlooked for whatever reason. I'm not saying it wasn't legitimate that they were overlooked this year, but I just think whether it's, making sure staff's empowered and when they see something that's unacceptable to make sure it gets implemented in part of this, I think there's a little bit of a gap in just my opinion.
okay. Anything else for that one? Okay, complete entitlement, cost estimation, funding, sequencing approach for implementation of the facilities plan. I should say facilities master plan. Sorry. So that's kind of moving forward the offices for town staff. Which again, as we know, this is a lengthy process, so continuing it forward, I think is important. Anything on that? Okay, in partnership with the Public Arts Commission, explore opportunities to integrate public art and design enhancements into town infrastructure.
So that's not just the Public Arts Commission's process,
Yeah.
is that?
Again, and something that I'm making sure you guys have conversation on collectively.
I
So
will
you get rid of
say,
it.
we actually have a meeting coming up.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. I'm
And
the
that's-
liaison for that, but in general, like, I've never had a public art commission meeting in the past 2.5
Yeah.
years. So I don't mind this being a goal we actually pursue, because otherwise nothing happens, like if we don't.
To me, the goal is we need to be more
Yeah.
proactive to say,
It's not the.
hey, Public Art Commission, we would like your
Yes.
impact
Yeah,
here.
And this is how, think about this, the reason you guys did a goal last year for the Silverjack stairs. You chose a place that the Public Arts Commission is acting on. This one doesn't have a place in mind. It's just like, do it. So I don't know if you're comfortable with that, if you want to put any more details to it. Again, I'll let you kind of have that conversation.
I like it broad.
Okay.
I'm gonna be the one advocating for more public art. I think we, like, for being such a creative and cultured town, we have very little public art. And I think with how much people love to complain about everything that we do, having public art incorporated into it makes it more exciting.
I can live with it remaining in there, but I would change the verbiage from explore opportunities to identify specific location.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think for
Increase
this, sorry, what was that, Charles?
Or increase,
Increase opportunity.
I think identify is more.
Yeah.
So instead of explore, identify. And I think that's great, because this one, because you have not identified, this year won't be implementation.
Yeah, it's an
But it's more-
identification of here's an opportunity,
Yeah, I
here's
like
an
that.
opportunity. I think
Yeah.
that's great.
Great, okay. Initiate priority capital projects, identified in the town's 5-year facilities capital improvement plan. Oh, no, I don't think at all. Including, phased rehabilitation or development of aging. Sorry, guys, what is it? Oh,
You're right there.
am I?
Yeah, aren't you? Identify, you're at the top, initiate policy.
Oh, yeah, great.
You're there.
Of aging town-owned housing units consistent with the priorities and recommendations established through the housing capital planning process.
Like,
So again, this came out of,
Skip something.
yeah, we're
did I?
on,
Sorry, guys.
5-year facilities. capital.
Yeah, it's cut off.
Or,
So
oh,
that's the
because I
problem.
does see, that ends with 4. and
Yeah.
then there was nothing.
Yeah, so
beyond
this is
that,
it.
So.
So I, sorry about that. Can I zoom in?
Can you read
Sorry.
that? Can you read again what's missing? Cause I didn't follow.
And so initiate priority capital projects identified in the town's 5-year facilities capital improvement plan, including the phased rehabilitation or redevelopment of aging town-owned housing units consistent with priorities and recommendations established through the housing capital planning process.
But it's not cut off.
Not on mine.
Oh, sorry.
We have different.
Yeah, mine is.
Oh, I think if you have the live Excel, then you should be able to obviously expand that.
Okay, that's what mine says.
When I printed it, it looked weird. Anyway, this did come from a council member. Sorry that's not checked. But really, I think the focus on that was to, like we did with building F rehabilitation, that we're still moving through those as priorities when they come up, not just building new housing, and relying on a plan to help facilitate that.
Can that be combined with the one that's 2 down, improve the appearance and functionality of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And that one came from staff, just based off of tenant reserve survey results and other things. Again, this one is a little bit more, of like they're both kind of strategic priorities, as well as we haven't identified, it's not like rehabilitate building F, you know what I mean?
It almost feels redundant.
Yeah.
Those two.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like we could just eliminate the second one and, yeah.
Yeah, the hope would be that you would, as part of your capital improvement plan,
Yes.
include those things.
I mean, I wonder if the second is intentionally some lower hanging fruit, like instead of waiting for the moment where we're totally rehabbing, like an old Shandoka building, are we doing things in the meantime to make it more livable? I'm not advocating to clump them together, but do we need aspects of the second one to provide that more immediate opportunity?
I mean, the direction I got was to put them a little bit more together.
Yeah, but
But
someone else just said to eliminate the second one.
Oh, do we want
And
to
that's-
eliminate or combine?
I think combine.
I think
Sure.
combine.
I'll combine, but make
If
sure
you
it's
feel
not
like-
redundant.
Yeah, if you
and
need to
think
call
back in.
out something specific,
Yeah,
I guess, is that what you're saying? Elements of like, some of these more specific things could be done promptly.
Yeah. I
Not
think
part of the
some-
review.
yeah, some of these could like improve the quality of our housing like today. And then some of them are part of these like bigger capital spending projects. So I think there's merits to both, and I would combine, not eliminate. That's what I wanted to clarify.
okay. I can look into doing that. Okay, I think we can, I'll see if I can make it a little bit more concise. Again, you'll get to look at these after this input and see if I did it as you thought, or if there's more input on the 11th. So I will do that. Okay, we are still working to construct a permanent facilities shop. That's part of the Public Works expansion project. But that's rolling over from last year to this year, just because we're held up from the grant perspective for the Public Works project, and therefore it's having an impact on this one.
Delaney, did you have specific input that you wanted to add on these topics?
Just when I heard eliminate that second item, I think somebody used the term low hanging fruit. We wanted it in there so that the public knew that we were paying attention to their comments. But if you combine the two, I think that was my only concern. Combine, not eliminate.
Right.
Great. Okay. Anything from the facility shop standpoint? Okay. We've already talked about the next one. And I don't know if Stephanie is back on, but there's Parks and Rec facilities, energy efficient upgrades utilizing temp funds. I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit more, Steph.
Yeah, we're constantly wanting to have more energy efficiency. We've done a lot of work at the pavilion. Our next step would be the pool facility, which is definitely starting to age and have more energy efficient boilers specifically, and also boilers that can kind of work in tandem or separate if we have maintenance issues. We've had to close the pool a few times this year because of heater issues, so we need to replace those, but we're going to do it in a much more energy efficient way. We also want to our info center, which is open to the public year round. We would like to change from gas to electric over there, with a new heater as well to eliminate gas service there. So these are all things that are pretty much ready to execute and will improve operations and energy use. And it'd be great if there were some temp funds to supplement a capital request or make it a fully temp funded project.
And I'll just add temp funds we use for a lot of our housing projects as well to make them energy efficient. So there are, you know, give and takes to where we're prioritizing those funds. So does council have any additional questions? Comfortable with that? You feel like this needs to be on as a priority?
My one nitpick is, the example I always sort of turn to is like, okay, is it more efficient to buy an electric vehicle or continuing to drive the car you have? 99% of the time, drive the car you have. So with this, what are the energy efficiencies? I'm sure there's energy efficiencies, but there's energy expenditures in the new construction, new build. So again, this is splitting hairs to a degree, and this is a nice to have.
Yep.
And I'm not saying eliminate it. I maybe feel slightly unconvinced. So if other people and if staff advocates for it, I'm willing to listen to staff and support staff. But those are some sort of thoughts that run through my mind when I read this.
Yeah. And the note that I have in here again is, you know, as we keep moving toward like the Carhenge Lot L, you might be looking at the temp funds more holistically. So that's why this one's kind of, maybe.
In along Dan's thought process, does it need to be a goal, right? If staff's just doing it and they're gonna present, you know, Parks and Rec Commission and or council or you, Zoe, with their ideas, does it need to be our goal?
It will come up further in the budget process with any of those kind of allocations. So you will have a say in it, but it doesn't need to be called out as a goal. I don't think it does, or action item.
Doesn't feel like it feels like if they need to replace a boiler because it is failing.
Yeah.
That they're going to
do it,
replace.
and then we'll make the
boiler
decision
because
whether
failing.
it's
like that. I guess
yeah, which
I don't know if it's something we need to put on as like a directive to do.
Yeah, I think the action doesn't change, but I don't think it needs to be on the list.
Great. I think there's consensus in that. All right, off the list. All right, this one is just maintain a placeholder for future council discussion and direction regarding the transfer. So I don't have anything for this yet, but I think it will take up just where we are heading, you know, with our partnership with Telluride Arts. We might have a goal here to consider.
It's a tough goal because we don't know where we're at.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with removing it and having it be a 2028 goal.
Great.
Once we have a finalized plan of what
Okay.
is going to happen, right? I don't want someone to look at this goal and assume our action.
Well, I think and we don't, and I just think it's important, and we can align on that, knowing we're gonna be prioritizing other things. This could be something that if you're like, whatever happens, you know, we'll be moving forward in 2028, versus us trying to taking up a lot of the capacity elements that we're talking about within this year. So.
Yeah, parrot some other comments. This doesn't feel like a priority for this year.
Great.
It feels like we've got a lot of more pressing items, and that I think making it for 2028 might be more advantageous given capacities of time.
And there's just too much to learn with that facility on so many things, from who ends up owning it and why, to what the program will be, to what the future is. I think it's setting staff up for it. You know,
great. I don't disagree on that alignment. So, okay. Perfect. All right. Anything else within the municipal buildings, infrastructure and funding requirements? Then we're going to move to implement the town parks master plan as funding is available and in line with the comprehensive plan. So I haven't updated this, sorry, Stephanie, but we have more language, but implement the town park core area improvements, including oval enhancement site work. So it's more gonna be focused on the basketball court and enhancing that, and just a little bit more, you know, drainage enhancements to the green space. So that's kind of what it will look like for this coming year. But I need to update that wording.
I mean, do we wanna just say implement town park core area improvements as part of the town park master plan and remove calling out the oval?
Well, you have a lot of people that came there saying they didn't know that this was happening, or, you know, we know that this is what we're gonna be working on, so I think I'll leave that up to
I think
you.
calling out the specifics.
Yeah.
To that point of saying that we're going to make improvements to the basketball court,
Mhm.
like, and do you wanna say maybe like per direction from, or per approval of plans from Parks and Rec? I want it to be clear that's like, this is I wanna kind of be clear that like the process is Parks and Rec makes decisions and then we approve budget line items based on availability of funds for decisions that they've made.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know how everyone else feels about
I
that.
guess like I don't want someone to read this and think that we're doing that, yeah, like I
That's
feel
how
like
it reads to me.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
so
So I'm like, maybe we just, cause we're not calling out any other parts of the, like, why are we just calling out the oval? and
cause that's what
nothing else?
we're doing next year. I
Is there
mean,
nothing
but
else that's part of that?
Well, that's what
Right,
she's saying
no,
is that she would change it from oval
Yeah.
to say basketball court improvements
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
drainage.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds better.
Go ahead,
That's
Steph.
okay.
So there's been back and forth pretty much every year, whether we call out specific projects or whether we just say implement master plan. So the direction has been to call out projects. This is our big project. I can provide language that is in line with the direction provided by Parks and Rec last week. And we do want to make it clear that we will still be working on the oval because the grass surface does require improved drainage and improved grading. So there will be work at the oval, but the final surfacing will be grass. And then redesigning the basketball court and trying to meet all the goals that the commission wanted to see happen is going to be a heavy lift also. So we need to include that in this language as well. So I will send Zoe some updated language. I do think we need to be pretty specific on this one because there is members of the public who still think you all are going to make a final decision on this, whereas I interpreted it the way that Ashley said, that commission provided direction on the design. They'll approve a final design probably in September. We have to spend money and time to redesign all this. So that's going to take us a few months here, especially during the summer. And then it will get presented to you all in the budget process for implementation. So just wanted to clarify that's the process that we're operating under as well.
I guess if we're gonna call out the oval, we should be specific about
Yep.
what that means.
Yep,
Yep.
yeah,
That would be my-
for sure.
And add in per Parks and Rec direction.
That's what I would just
Fine.
include.
Yep.
Again, so
Okay.
people understand the process.
Okay, moving on. Development of a river park corridor management plan to assess ecological and recreational priorities, aligning with goal 0.2 of the town park master plan.
This is something that was on to this year's goals and objectives, and we just haven't had the staff bandwidth to, even though it'll be a consultant helping us with it. It's very much needed as we approach beavers and weeds and trees and a lot of things that if we had more of a management plan, it would help us with decision making and being a little more proactive. So really hope that we can kick it off in the winter and not have it overlap with the busiest season as much as possible and get it done. And I do think it'll involve several staff members, Parks and Rec Commission and council to a certain level too. So I do think it's an appropriate goal.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, the next one, maybe a little bit too broad, but I'll let you have that discussion. Implement Parks and Rec capital project as prioritized in the 2020 town park master plan and directed by the Parks and Rec Commission. Stephanie, I know that.
Yeah, this is vague because every August Parks and Rec Commission hears recommendations on the 5-year capital plan from staff. So we're presenting that on August 19th. And then if there's any large projects of note that come out of that, then we can add that to this list. I don't think that there's going to be much that is large and capacity wise requiring it be listed as a goal and objective because I know money's limited and staff time's also limited. There will be other projects, but I don't think they're going to warrant needing to be on the goals and objectives, but you will hear them during your capital discussion.
I mean, if there's nothing large
Take it
enough
out.
to be listed, can we eliminate
Take it
it?
out. I think we should. And as I think you prioritize what we're gonna be looking at from our capital projects perspective, we will be looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
most likely.
Okay.
Okay. Removed. Okay, moving on to where it's updated, you can see in red, participate in regional transportation planning. The one that was given to us is continue working with SMART and regional partners to advance coordinated transportation, connectivity, and parking strategies, plans, and implementation structures, including partnership under the gondola IGA and development of equitable investment approaches for the gondola replacement project to support regional access and mobility.
40.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just gonna keep reiterating, for me in this time, I just wanna make sure I got everyone's sentiment. Now you are a collective group, you give collective direction. I think the sentiment that was provided was, one, we want to make sure that it's known that SMART is kind of the leader of the gondola and other regional transportation aspects that we are working with them on. And that, beyond the gondola, you know, it's an interconnected transportation system that we are working through. But again, up for your discussion.
I mean, do we need to say anything about a financing plan? Like, I know we call out equitable investment approaches. But like, in terms of things that we need to take action on, like figuring out a finance plan would be for me, is the actual item. This feels a little more conceptual.
I actually think, yeah, I almost feel like maybe this, I don't mind the continuing working with SMART regional partners for the parking structures, blah, blah, blah. I don't mind that. I think we can figure out how to condense it to make it a little bit more concise, because I think that is an important goal that we need to call out. But I almost feel like we need a secondary goal that's specific to gondola funding.
Yeah, I would agree with Ashley.
So do you want to keep kind of a broader goal of just continuing working with SMART regional partners to advance? Again,
because I think
there's
that
the only true goal is the gondola. I mean, the true action
connectivity
item.
and parking strategies.
Yeah, but we don't.
That's already called out elsewhere.
But we're doing, the town is doing what they are doing for parking and other things. Like we don't have plans right now to work with anyone on those aspects. It's similar, I'll let you guys have that discussion, but we can move participation under the gondola IGA. And the
If we call out, Elena, if we call out specific, like gondola funding, like determination, whatever, like how we're gonna word that as a separate goal, do you think having just continue working with SMART and regional partners to advance coordinated transportation, connectivity, and parking strategies, period, is enough there for us to have that be a goal and then call out the gondola funding as a
So I
separate?
could see them as two different reportings, being like, this is how, you know, the development of that asset and those conversations, and then the town's own personal responsibility in the finance.
Because I'm just thinking, like, to me, the working with SMART regional partners is like, I'm like, okay, if we're developing, you know, some parking structure somewhere, do we want to integrate in with SMART to figure out buses and utilization of that? Like, I feel like there is separation between some of the collaboration that we could be having with SMART in other transportation areas, but then specifically saying, and this year, we're gonna figure out a funding strategy for gondola replacement or something.
Yeah, I would support them being two separate items, because I do think the continuing regional collaboration part of this is important. And if we're looking back at the goal, right? And I think the goal is correct, that it's participate in regional transportation planning. Like, I think that is the correct goal. And I think to achieve that, it is more like broad collaboration in the systems. And like with Lot L development, like, but immediately we also need to figure out gondola funding. So
I think that I just feel like they feel like two separate.
Yeah, exactly.
I have them as two goals, because again, how I would report on it is like how our conversations are going with the gondola group on the development of the gondola replacement, and then how the town is tackling the financial approach to our portion of
Yeah,
that. So I can do that too.
yeah, and they're two different actions. They're
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm okay with those being two items. I know we're trying to make the list shorter, but this feels.
No.
We've taken other things
You have,
off.
honestly, fine. I just laughed again, like when I looked back, I was like, oh, we gave them 63 goals last year. I was like, oh, but how do we end up with 80? Like, how did that happen? Okay,
Do you?
but you guys are doing great. No, I appreciate all the conversation you really had around capacity. I think you guys are nailing that a little bit more as we're going through this. So heard, I'll work on making them two separate goals. I understand the sentiment. Is everyone good with that?
Mhm.
Okay. I have nothing for 1G for this coming year. Unless anyone has anything to add to that. Okay, then moving on to 1H, address accessibility for all. This is Mahoney Bridge, so continuing to work on our Mahoney Bridge project. Maintain and improve town infrastructure, replace the existing Mahoney double barrel 72-inch corrugated metal pipe culverts and bridge with new clear span bridge to ensure long-term safety and functionality. Any issues on that? Any questions? Okay. Then moving on, begin the process to revise the public works standards and specifications along with street safe concepts to align with contemporary best practices, evaluate town aesthetics, and strengthen infrastructure resilience. And Kyle, I don't know if you're on for this. To give a little bit more background. Is he on? Okay, great.
This would be one that like, I have to ask the question, is this, in terms of capacity, is this a nice to have or is this essential? Like if we're talking about, and you were talking about how public works is stretched pretty thin.
Yeah, they are.
With,
Yeah.
you know, our water, the still water project
Yeah.
and the Genesee property water and just general maintenance of everything. Like obviously I want this, but this is one that I would highlight as a nice to have potentially.
I'll let Kyle get a little bit more insight.
Yeah, thank you. No, I would agree. These are where we'll use as fill where we can. There's going to be things throughout the town that I can't avoid and have to put in these efforts regardless if we have the time or not, just because it's going to fit in with all the other capital improvement programs. But I would agree, like I will have to back out of this slightly, but just know that when there is time to fill and I can accomplish this, I will try to do my best to establish this goal, but it definitely is going to sit lower on the priority list.
Should we leave it, but maybe change it to future consideration? Like as to highlight, I know we're not doing like high priority, low priority, whatever, but that it's maybe a little bit more forward looking than an immediate.
Well, but the action is begin the process. So if it's a future consideration, we're not beginning it. So that's where I would say, do we eliminate this and put this in our pocket for next year?
That's what I would do.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Just in terms of capacity, like it's, again, I want all of these things, but if we're trying to really focus on.
I mean, he kind of said that they're gonna have to do it anyway,
Right.
so.
I think it can- as things are getting redone, we'll make them look nice, but I don't know if this needs to be its own line item on
That's
the
fine.
list of
I'm fine
goals.
with eliminating.
Okay.
And Kyle, you can stay
You
on
might
for the
not
next
need it.
one.
You might
Yeah.
not even need it this year, but it seems to fall into that category of staff's gonna do that.
Yeah.
It's part of what they would be doing. They're gonna revisit this every 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since it was revisited. When was this last revisited?
Yeah, and so I mean that is the one thing for the standards and specifications. We are going to send that out to an RFP to get third party assistance because it ties into so much that we do, and there's so much gray area and missing documentation that it is very hard for me to kind of extend the public works expectations when we are doing design and development. And so I'm getting hit hard with just like, it's not clear that this is a requirement. And so I absolutely have to move forward with that, which it will take a lot of staff's time for review. But the longer I keep putting this off, I want to say the last iteration was early 2000s. So it's by far, it's overdue. And so that's where we're hoping to start this and implement it closer to the winter when hopefully we can free up on some time. But definitely I need to get that done as soon as possible just because it's a domino effect on kind of our efficiency and on how we're wanting to move forward.
Then is it a priority?
I mean, it is. And I'll say yes, this has been on the list for a bit because it is a priority. It also so that's staff capacity. This will take time, but we're hopefully gonna RFP out. Political capacity, it's changing, it's reaffirming the expectations of our, some of our built environment, specifically the things that tie into public works. So there will be a level of education and change to it, hence political capacity. But Public Works has been trying to advance better practices regardless of this document. So it's not like the work isn't happening, but it makes it more difficult because you can't fall back on the regulatory aspect, because it's not codified in some of these pieces. Did I say that well, Kyle?
Yep.
So that's,
So should we keep it? Cause the way that
yeah,
Kyle explained it, maybe we do need to keep this.
I think it does. What do you think, Kyle? I'll leave it up to you.
I think it needs to stay, and just knowing that regardless if it does or not, I'm moving forward with it just because I got to find a way to make it happen.
Okay. So we're keeping it. All right, stay on for this next one. Explore the development of an annual concrete sidewalk replacement program to address hazardous conditions and improve public safety in accordance with the town code. Do you want to give a little background on that?
Yeah, this is one that I definitely see that could be pushed out. One of the kind of goals and objectives around this is understanding kind of, if you look throughout town, it's upgrading all the sidewalks that have elevation change. As Public Works, we've been doing our best to go around and actually grind down these hazards. But ultimately, the sidewalks are the responsibility of the private property front. And so it's establishing and kind of updating the standard specifications, but as well as kind of re-announcing that to our community that is the responsibility of those property fronts, and then establishing a program to where we identify where those hazards are, and then either potentially going through a cost share process or just a combined effort with a contractor for cost savings to kind of update where these hazards exist. I'm sure everyone around town has noticed you'll be walking and you trip on, a curb stop that's sticking above grade, or a route that has pushed up the sidewalk, or ramps that don't meet current criteria. So it's reestablishing a specific concrete program to go around and try to improve that infrastructure townwide.
Politically, I'd like to push this one.
Okay.
I just think that although it's good, especially, for access for all, we've done such a good job on Main Street that we can pause on this, and I'm just worried that people are gonna be like, the town's mandating we pay to repair a sidewalk. That's perfectly fine. And the brain damage that could happen. So I think that pushing it a little bit would be good.
Okay.
What if would it maybe just be advantageous at this point in time I agree with what you just said about, like, if we roll out a whole program of replacement and like blah, blah, blah. Do we have like a map that has identified problem areas? Like, that to me is like, maybe that's what we could do this year, is it's like, let's identify and locate areas that need to be replaced, rather than like moving forward with any sort of like hey, everybody, you're going to have to change this, because it will need to get done. But I agree. I think that maybe this year isn't the year to do it.
Well,
but maybe identifying.
Go ahead, sorry.
On that note, I think we're asking a lot with the new wildfire resiliency code, in terms of people updating their properties to meet certain codes that we've adopted. And I think to dump this on top of that would be a lot in a short amount of time. And I couldn't agree with that. Yeah.
You good with that, Kyle?
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I'm good with that. And kind of in the background, I can start establishing kind of what I would think of, the background to pushing this out, like they said, like a map of, the problem areas, as well as kind of the expectation of what to expect on repairs. I can start just preparing that way we can have a discussion and see in the future how we could effectively push this through.
All right. So I will get rid of that as a goal, and know that we'll just, in preparation maybe for next year, have some of those pieces so that you can better discuss that goal in the future. Okay. Begin and construct traffic calming improvements along East Colorado Avenue to enhance safety, reduce speeding, and improve overall neighborhood livability in alignment with the recommendations of the Colorado East End Traffic Calming Study, and I'll say, and community input. I'm gonna add that. Any questions on that? Okay. I did that. I have double seats every time. Okay, moving through, vehicular and pedestrian traffic flow improvements along West Colorado Avenue between the Roundabout and South Tomboy Road in coordination with the Canyonlands and Tower House project and that potential underpass concept. Some of this is going to happen because it's part of the, oh my gosh, what's it called? The Streets Improvement Plan, SIP, for the project. So in order for the project to be built, these street improvements have to happen, and that was tied in with the project. Yes, Teddy?
I mean, aren't we already done with most of this, because it's part of the plan for Canyonlands and Tower House anyway?
We aren't done with it. SIA, Subdivision Improvement Agreement, wasn't even close. Thanks.
Yeah.
In terms of what we're doing based on the plans, or is that not?
So we haven't done it yet, but we will.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. I know
Yeah.
we haven't, I mean,
Yeah.
I meant more the planning.
Yeah, the planning's done. It's the, yep. So just like some of these other goals where the phase is, this is, I think there's two. So you're right. We're in the advanced part of that piece, but the underpass concept is in the develop part.
I like leaving the potential, you know, if we want to do an underpass, I think that's a great concept because that's a choke point.
Mhm.
But the Canyonlands Tower House stuff is already kind of on, do we need to address that? Isn't it kind of?
Is it gonna be done this year or you're gonna be doing more of that next year?
That's the ultimate goal, is we're working with them to try, because what has to happen is the north edge of Colorado has to extend to be able to achieve the through lanes as well as that center lane. And so the street has to be widened slightly, and then there has to be some stormwater improvements, sidewalk connectivity. So there's quite a bit that's just has to be completed, but the ultimate goal is to have that completed this year. And we're trying to coordinate that with and tying that in with our overlay program at the end of this year, as well as trying to get a concrete contractor on there for that connectivity from Canyonland to the Clark's market kind of entrance.
Thanks for that. So yeah, some of it is the requirement of the SIA, but there's additional enhancements like the turn into Clark's that is just in coordination. But all of that is hopefully will be done this year. So maybe not required to be a call out for the coming year. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, the coming year would be more of the, west of that location where we have, it'd be stormwater improvements, potentially underpass, the bus stop upgrades, but that's again, all tied into that SS4A grant funding as well. So just knowing that if we get grant funding for that, that's something we're going to have to push as we have the funding for it. And if we don't accept and that, we have a specific time frame we have to implement and construct to meet the grant requirements. And so if I hope we get that grant, but that would kind of push that project into next year, at least starting the actual design concept of it.
Into 2028?
The design would most likely be 2027, and construction would be 2028.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having trouble leading this goal. So,
Go ahead.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, I support these general concepts. This is the nicest of the nice to haves, in my opinion. Like, and this is where staff input is very key, because I can't tell you your capacity for you. I feel like this will be a generally popular idea with the community, but we have to very much be forward thinking on mitigating the impacts during construction, because that's where we're gonna receive blowback. And so that goes back to the staff capacity component. So.
And the political capacity component too. For instance, if we are going to be doing work on Lot L, how much work do we want to be doing on Colorado Avenue, and some of those pieces. So I think that's your comfortability and your priority of, I think we can continue the design elements, knowing that we have interest in this, but where the implementation falls is maybe not for 2027.
I think the only thing that is interesting to me on this is the potential underpass concept and having that the exploration of that remain as a goal
So
of something that we could do. But that's the only part of that that feels like a goal.
do you want to keep the goal as continue exploration of these concepts in line with available grant funding, as Kyle kind of mentioned with the SS4?
I mean, I think as a goal, we've gotta explore that underpass. When you,
Yeah.
the traffic's only gonna get worse. And when you think about what happens, lunchtime and, 3 o'clock-ish, give or take. I think would be a good win for the community to see that we're at least looking at that.
So,
And 5 PM and like, it's always so crazy.
To add on to that, one thing, I do think the vehicular flow element of it is a component, because as Kyle mentioned, a left turn lane heading west into the Clark's parking lot would also do a huge amount.
which is that something we're doing this year, right?
Yeah, so the center lane is gonna be for westbound left turn, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this year, 2026.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have heard, and I'll work with Kyle, but it's continuing the exploration of the underpass and adding in, aligned with available grant funding.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you can help me with that wording, Kyle, with that sentiment.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, these all kind of came from council, so for your discussion for these next ones. Evaluate opportunities to create designated bike lanes along Main Street and in other appropriate locations throughout town. Again, I put some notes in here for your discussion. We'll think through I think weighing all the capacity limitations on this, and we talked with Kyle, and most likely it would be a shared lane. We don't have room throughout town, mainly for designated bike lane. So I'm going to be like painting in the center of the road. Is that right, Kyle?
Yeah, this is where we can explore some of those options of, it's really just striping. And so just implementing, and I'd say we definitely do it as a pilot test. I know where everyone's looking for that to happen is on Colorado, specifically potentially from Davis east. And then really focusing on where that's the uphill terrain to where that would be the dedicated bike, where if you're going downhill, you should be able to maintain a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit, but it's where those hills come into play where it might slow down traffic if they were to have that shared lane. So open to explore those pilot tests, because I think that's kind of an easy target to where we could just implement some additional striping and make that happen.
I bike that all the time, back and forth, and now that we have the center lane back. I mean, for me personally, I don't think striping the street for a bike lane is necessary.
And this will be a half thing, just so everybody knows. Some people are gonna like it, and some people are gonna not like it.
The center lane isn't supposed to be where bicycles bike. They're supposed to be on the right side of.
But I guess to
Supposed
that
be in the
point,
middle.
sometimes we do things because we want people to do something differently, and we're gonna spend money and time, and they're still gonna bike in the center lane.
Yeah. Westpac is a perfect example. We've put in a 10-foot lane. We put in the signs on the bike path that it's pedestrian and bike, and we still got people biking the wrong direction. So it's never a win-win, but you just give me the guidance on what you guys want to see, and I'll implement it or I won't.
Ride your bike.
Right there. I will say, I think that it is like, I don't know. I don't feel like this is something that is necessary.
Thank you.
I do.
To be clear, also, we're not talking about bike lanes, we're talking about sharrows, where it is just a visual reminder on the lane that in Colorado, bikes have the entire legal right to take up an entire lane of traffic. And should use that, and especially in a low speed limit environment like our town, that is the preferred form of transport.
But do you think, I guess my question is like, what has occurred that we feel like this is something that's necessary?
I've almost got hit by cars on my bike.
Yes,
I drove over Bluegrass. I talked to you about it. Like to the point that other people saw it happen and talked to them. We're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
I have had a car as I'm traveling westbound on Colorado zip around in the center lane to try to pass me when I'm already traveling 15 miles an hour
I
downhill.
think they'll still do that.
Yeah.
Still have the-
They-
I don't know, whatever, if you guys wanna do it, I just think.
I mean, again, I'm gonna hone in on staff and political capacity on this, so.
This feels
I
like
think-
low hanging fruit.
I
Like,
will-
it seems.
I will
pretty-
disagree with that, only like and diagonal parking also is very similar to this.
That's right.
Meaning a lot of people will comment on the aesthetics of it. It will not be about the usefulness of the bike lane. It will be about the change, the aesthetics, things along those
And that
lines.
group is already mobilized.
Yeah.
So I think.
But we will do it. You just have to, we will champion it and you will champion it. But don't think it's an easy thing.
This one I will champion, but. if
Yeah, I was
that's-
gonna
if
say,
it's
this is a
not-
hill I'll die on.
Yeah, that's fine.
If there isn't consensus, then
I
fine.
don't think it's gonna accomplish.
I don't think so either. I think your sentiment is
talk about
correct.
e-bikes.
I think what you guys want is correct. I don't think this will accomplish it. I just think that it's gonna ruffle more feathers
That's right.
than it's gonna
It's
produce
both of those
results.
things that lead me, like, think nothing. I agree with you guys.
Well, but the argument against diagonal parking was like safety for people on e-bikes.
Sure.
So now we're coming to the table and we're being like, we're trying to make biking safer on your road that you complained was unsafe because of our diagonal parking.
But because it will probably be in the center lane instead of
Yes.
designated
But
bike
never-
lane, like.
Your sentiment is correct, but people
Yeah.
would go against common sense
Yeah.
to spite us. That's my challenge.
This feels like a public safety thing. Like,
They're proving everyone wants what they wanna have, and they're gonna find some study on AI that proves against this and create a political nightmare. And
You're
they're
absolutely right. Like for me, the striping part of it is easy, but the time of everything that followed was, I can't even tell you how much time we spent on the angle parking thing. So I would agree, like, it's not just for me, it's not just putting down the paint, but then it's dealing with the aftermath and the decisions that are made. So I would ask that we make an educated decision on this, understanding that regardless of your belief, it is going to take a lot of time regardless, because there are those that are for it and those that are against it. And it will take up some time, and just acknowledging that, I think, is kind of what I'm asking.
And Kyle's got a big list already.
I mean, could we even, like, next time we repaint the road, add like the bicycle signs to the center of the road just to remind people?
And I think this is what that's talking about, because that's what it will be. I mean,
Are we talking about
we cannot, we
putting
don't,
a stripe down somewhere?
it will most
Or
likely,
just-
it will most likely just be a bike picture, because we can't, our roads aren't big enough to have designated bike lanes. So we have a shared lane concept, so it's exactly what you're talking about. So for us, the paint is not the big deal. It's the education, the pushback, like that's what this will be. Again, we will champion it if you guys wanna make it a priority. You will also have to champion it, but it will take the staff capacity and the board capacity part.
I mean, I
We
would
do the
like,
straw poll.
Yeah, sure.
Move on. That's fine.
Wait, I'm still.
Yeah.
Wanna make sure what we're talking about putting,
Sharrows.
Sharrows, yeah.
but just a.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I have
Yeah.
designated bike lanes, and that's my
Yeah,
fault.
with an-
In the middle of the road.
Yeah.
That said,
Yeah.
bikes have. And that's
Sharrows.
like.
And most likely,
I like without compromise.
Person too.
and there could be, I mean, again, Kyle, there might be some areas where we could, I don't know. But that, the reality of our roadways is most likely there will be sharrows, and sorry, I didn't know that. term.
That is the
Is that right, Kyle?
S-H-A-R-R-O-W-S.
Say the funny thing about the Sharrows is the kids think it's like the double arrow, like a Mario Kart that you speed up when you hit the double arrow. So-
Yeah, true.
I don't think that.
I mean, that was just a joke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not a good concern. I just feel like this is something like I experience a lot, is like feeling like cars don't respect me on my bike. And it's crazy because we're trying to promote people biking around town and not driving their car. And we're doing nothing to like alleviate some of the issues of biking around town. And like
I just don't think it's
drove
going to
over
accomplish
30
what you want it to do.
minutes.
I think what we need is our marshals to enforce and pull over people who are speeding or who are about, or almost hit somebody on it. It's like, I don't think painting the roadway is going to change the behavior of people who are bad drivers. I agree with what you guys
Let's
are
straw
wanting.
poll it, 'cause
I just don't think
it's-
it's gonna accomplish
It's
it.
11:35
Yep.
and we're not even halfway done.
Yep.
So we get straw poll it and move on, and we're gonna be here till 5 o'clock.
So,
I think we know. Let's keep moving.
no.
Seems that way. Ellen and I are
Okay.
opposed unless.
I might die on
Maria,
this one,
Charles.
guys. Oh, I literally might die.
I don't think we see enough change to warrant. I agree with y'all, but
So who here would like to keep this goal? Okay. And I will cross that out. And then this was a broader goal to be given to us, so promote the development of connectivity of regional bicycle paths in coordination with regional partners to improve safe, accessible transportation and recreation opportunities. Again, we don't have any specific projects to this, but it was a sentiment. So,
Yeah, I think that there are some projects that are gonna be coming up from other partners.
Yeah.
So I would agree with leaving that and having that be a goal. Even if we're not at the tip of the spear.
so is
Right,
it like
less cars.
supporting,
But what's
is
our
it,
action?
is it just
If-
supporting regional partners then?
I
Or-
can live with it if we put support, but I mean, for us, it's like, if we don't have an actionable item as council.
Mhm.
Well,
why would we go?
promote the development.
But it's but
But if
It's
it's
regional.
regional,
It's
then it's
regional.
the
Nothing to do with us.
County, yeah.
And we
That should
already
be our
improved
goal.
our bike path on the valley floor. And any other connectivity we would do with the regional bike path would be adding bike infrastructure in the town, which you guys just said you didn't wanna do, so.
There was a point where open space wanted to, there was potential for the mountain club to connect a bike path along part of the valley floor.
I believe that
At the
that's,
corner of it.
I believe that that is happening on the east end of the valley, from around the Idorado property up to the mine, on the east end, but that's not gonna be, it's gonna be a gravel path, is my
Yeah,
understanding.
bike trail, right?
Bike trail, yeah, multi-use trail, yeah. So, I
But
think, is that what
they
you're talking
pulled-
about?
They pulled, no, I'm talking about further west, like out past, like where the lollipop is, we go around where we
Like
rerouted the
The
river.
lollipop.
It's,
So
You know, like
Revolves
like
yeah.
out and then a little circle, anyway.
Anyway, beyond that, on the valley floor, the mountain club wanted to potentially to realign a more beginner bike path. They wanted to go across town open space, but they pulled that back. And said, we're not asking for that right now.
Yeah.
So that was potentially going to cross town on the valley floor. And they wanted an easement to allow dogs in a certain part, but I think they're gonna keep it where it's only in the region, it's not gonna be on the valley floor.
Yeah.
But I don't see why that's a goal, and to me, this is basically.
Right, I heard it discussed, but it's not, so.
Yeah, I mean,
So who?
and even if it was, that's not our goal, if they come to us, that's one thing.
Right,
I don't- You know,
I would say, I mean, I personally feel like maybe it's support or something. I don't know. I think that this is
I think.
a,
I think this needs, if bike improvements in the town are not a priority, this is definitely not a
I totally
priority.
agree.
Dan's not here, so I hate to do a straw poll, but who's comfortable with, Dan, right? Who's comfortable with getting rid of this goal then? I should not think right. Okay, we'll get rid of that one. Great. All right, the next one, again, evaluate the need, feasibility and potential impact of expanding Galloping Goose transit service to commuter parking lots to determine whether additional service would be meaningful support to encourage commuter use. I will point out that if we were to double the time or have more frequent stops, it would be a very large capital, so budgetary consideration.
It's every
It would be-
15 minutes.
Huh?
It's every 15.
It's every 15 minutes, yep.
That's pretty good.
So this would be yeah.
But I'm just thinking, because if we're trying to encourage people to use commuter lots, having like a 10-minute bus might make that more feasible.
And I would just weigh the budgetary impact.
Right, but
which is
like how.
large.
should we do a 10-minute bus in the winter?
No, it's always, it used to be 10-minute and then during COVID it changed and we eliminated the east end. And then now it's just a 15-minute bus.
Yeah, cause what happened is we had two separate loops. We had the loop that just went from
Right.
the Shandoka lot to
To the
basically
park.
the post off, the park, right,
Yeah.
post office, and that was the loop, and then you had the east loop,
It was
east
like,
end loop that was separate, and then you combine them, and that spread it out the time.
and that made it a 15-minute, which is a 30%, or no, wait. more than that, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
30% reduction in our services. And my reason for bringing this up, as someone who does ride our bus pretty frequently, sometimes that like frequency is the difference between me like driving somewhere because I'm in a rush or being able to catch the bus. And if we're trying to promote use of our commuter lots, having a more frequent bus might help with that goal.
And Kyle got his hand raised, so I'd love to.
And I just want to comment, you're right, Zoe, like understanding that that's adding additional buses. So there's a, you know, the funding that needs to support that, that's staff that needs to be increased because the 15-minute loop, you know, during busy season, it is just enough to get from one end to the other. There is no time to sit, so you can't just you know, increase that time with that particular bus and driver. You'd have to physically add additional infrastructure. So just knowing that's our bus bays are completely full. We have buses parked outside. So we don't have the infrastructure to support that. So just knowing that there'd be a huge undertaking to support that request.
Even with potential public works campus expansion and updates, Kyle,
The campus is office space, not bays. And so there is nothing in the works right now for adding additional buses.
Does it help? I mean, right now, the 15-minute to me seems a reasonable time, but when I guess those early morning, later in the after 6 o'clock, whatever time it is, then it's a longer wait. It's not 15 minutes. So I'm just wondering if expanding that 15-minute time period from.
It used to
From 9 to
change and I
6 or
think
8
it
to
stays
6
the
or-
same.
Is it the same?
It used
After
to
6 o'clock.
adjust.
After 6 o'clock, it goes. Depending on the year, sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 8.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been that consistent, but it does get less frequent at night.
It's less
Is that true, Kyle?
Yeah.
It had at least previously been every 10 minutes.
Yeah, it used to be every 10 minutes, and
And-
that was like,
And then it would drop to every 20 minutes in the evenings.
Or maybe every 15 minutes.
That's still like that.
Formerly able to
It's
do every
15
10.
and 30, and off seasons are
Every
30.
because we have two different routes.
It's a double loop. The difference was
Yeah.
we could do 10 minutes when we had the double loop.
I know,
The
but
east end loop in the town, you basically
But that-
east end loop and a west end loop.
That still doesn't answer the question of why were we able to do it previously and not able to do it.
Cause now every bus does the big loop.
Every bus does the big loop and you can't.
It used to be like, I remember,
You
'cause
do it in 10 minutes.
You used to look at the top of the bus and
Yeah.
the top of the bus would say east end,
That's
if
right.
it was
Yeah.
going all the way
Yes.
to the east end.
Yes, no, I understand, but
You would have to go back to 2 loops.
to bring us to the goals and objectives. Because we're talking about an exploration, we're not talking about a commitment to do this thing. Give me an estimate in terms of staff effort and capital expenditure to give us some of this more detailed information to make this decision.
And political, don't forget that.
Cause yeah,
That's
the
as
change
well.
will, yeah.
And
So, I
just
mean,
in terms of the
because we're
exploration,
not
not
saying-
implementation,
yeah,
just the
no
exploration.
implementation. All right.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Can you quantify that? Or is that too big of an ask to even explore right now?
I think if you want to put parameters, and I'll let Kyle discuss this as well. I think we can do an exploration specifically looking at maybe routes as well, not just added infrastructure. Cause I think the reward, it would be difficult to justify given how much that's gonna cost, but I think maybe we can look at other pieces. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Kyle?
No, I'd agree. I would request, for me, I don't like just going out on a whim for, no reason. I would want the justification of the need for this, because there might be other solutions besides, what we're proposing here. I would like to understand the actual need and the justification behind that, is kind of what I would request. Cause this is, we can go down a deep rabbit hole here. And so is there really a need for it is my question. Cause I have not heard that from my end from the drivers or anything else. So, just wondering where this stemmed from.
And maybe it's a survey.
came up with why people aren't using CarHenge.
Cause we
That's
made
where
it
this
easier to
started.
park elsewhere.
That's.
It's also integrated with what?
And we made this, and we
Okay.
made this.
And we may be doing all this. We got so many big changes.
We gotta go one at a time.
We've got so many big changes that, you know, we could go and start, if we make this change with Carhenge and Lot L, this could all go in a different direction once those infrastructures are in. So we just need to consider all those changes as well, what that's going to do to bus routes and timing and expectations.
So do you want to, you know, survey the need for additional bus routes? Is it?
I think it's a bigger question of just Carhenge parking and how do we get people to want to be there and not park downtown and how do you provide
Yeah,
bus, service for them. So I don't think it's just. I don't think I think there's a whole nother thing that has to be discussed at some point.
I don't think they wanna take the bus, regardless of how often it's
I
there.
think it changes based on the price of gas and the price of parking. So it is an economic decision whether you take the bus versus drive. And so it's that bigger conceptual design that we need to think about.
And price of parking
Because
tickets.
the smart
And
bus ridership did go up when gas prices went up when the Iran war
Yes.
started.
Yeah,
So
but smart is different than this, right? I don't think people are gonna pay attention to gas if they're driving from the Doka to downtown.
But also, as we continue to develop the southwest area, that's the primary, I think, user of our Galloping Goose bus system is people living in the West End who are traveling into the downtown area. And as we are clearly adding more people into that zone, I think the need will arise from that as well.
then maybe it's a 2020.
I think that's a conversation for when that parking. Gets closer.
I agree. I think it's frequent enough.
Bigger, but.
So do you want this to be pushed to maybe a 2028 discussion? Do you, based on those future realities? Or is this focus for 2027, again, from an evaluate and feasibility for something that we can implement?
I think it has to be part of a bigger discussion. I don't think that we're going to, right now, it doesn't feel like what everyone's saying is that there's some interest, but it doesn't feel like there's a strong push right now to expand it. But if it was part of a bigger, transportation integration, then that would feel more exciting, I think, for some.
I'm okay with this being part of the long game. I think if we're looking at things that we can do to make commuter lots more appealing, this is one of them.
Yeah, because Smart's looking at turning the county lot into a 3-story lot. So,
And making more of an intercept.
yeah.
Okay, sorry, guys. Heard, but do we need to make it a action item for this coming year?
I think it sounds like we're gonna push it.
I think so too.
Push it.
And I think Kyle's on, I think we understand the sentiment and I think that's the realities of how we are moving through this development as well. So, okay. Great, getting rid of it. It is 11:48. I just want to touch on, we can continue going through this. We can stop at 12 and continue to pick up the conversation similar to where we are now on the 11th, or we can kind of keep going and push it.
I think we keep going. Let's just
Okay, great.
chug
I don't know all afternoon.
All right, let's go. I don't want to stifle our conversation, but let's keep going.
Here by one person.
All right.
I think we can.
Let's go.
Let's keep going.
Adopt and finalize comprehensive plan and housing action plan, which is part of it, to guide and implementation of the housing components of the comprehensive plan.
Can you explain to me again the comprehensive plan versus the master plan?
They're the same thing.
Same thing.
We call it the comprehensive plan. That's what we call it. It's called comprehensive plan.
So it's
That's what
not called the master plan.
our engage page.
More
We
politically correct.
Okay.
We have things
So
like the
that's
town parks master plan and our water master plan. We have other things that are defined as master plans.
Just
But
so it's
we-
clear, just so it's clear.
Yes, but we have designed it.
The Mountain Village called it that, the town called it this.
Yeah,
So
Mount
it's
Village
just
calls it a
that.
comprehensive plan, but our engage page or communication is all been comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Any questions on that? All right, with that, it would be undertaken a comprehensive update to the land use code following the adoption of the comprehensive plan to align regulations with the town's long-term vision and priorities, streamline processes, and establish a clear, practical, and appropriately scaled regulatory framework. Dan, I've tried to incorporate some of your things without the exact sentiment of overregulation, because I thought that would be a hot word to put in there. But that's the sentiment I was trying to capture in that. So any questions on that piece?
Need to wordsmith that a little bit.
Go for it. And then Dan, if you want to talk about your sentiment too, that's what I was trying to accomplish.
No, yeah, I mean, the sentiment I had is just managing and coming into this process with a very clear understanding of the trade-offs of complexity versus outcomes. And I have, you know, with my time in government, have really begun to weight my opinions on what are we hoping to accomplish, looking at outcomes, and then working backwards from there to make, to use Zoe's word, streamline and efficient language to help achieve that. And it feels like our land use code in particular has been piecemealed together over so many years. It has become a bureaucratic rat's nest, or it is just difficult to manage and difficult to navigate, both for the town itself through staff, or when we are working with a consultant as an applicant, and then for the general public at large. And I feel like that is one of the priorities that I'm going to be trying to incorporate as we go into the process next year.
I like the goal, but does the planning department have bandwidth for?
I mean, this is going to be the reality. So after you adopt a comprehensive plan, you then take that and update
The land use code is going to be reviewed and updated.
Yeah.
After the comprehensive plan is done, no matter what. I think Dan's saying we need to
Prioritize
this.
clarity and processes.
Yeah, he's trying.
Yeah, and not go into it willy-nilly. I want to have a set of goals and principles of, you know, aligning with these goals of not just making changes to make changes or because they feel right, but how do they help better support the overall vision? And the overall vision to me is, you know, maintaining historic character, maintaining buildings that work, and support livability, and allow for an efficient navigable process to occur. That's sort of some of the initial thoughts of what I'm going into this with, not just we're revising it to revise it. We are revising it with purpose.
Does anyone have any further direction on that?
I think it gives planning and zoning purpose. I mean, other than just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, let's just.
I like the goal. Do they have the capacity to act on this goal?
For next year?
I can speak to this. I have my hand up if this is an appropriate time. We absolutely have the capacity. This is the highest priority once we complete our comprehensive plan. And to Dan's points and others' points, this is now taking what our high level goals are in the comprehensive plan, and this is the implementation through the land use code of that work. So absolutely streamlining. There are opportunities that staff have identified for really cleaning some aspects of the code to refine them to really reflect through the land use code the outcome we're looking for throughout this community. And in terms of capacity, yes, no question, that's been the plan, you know, since the start of the comp plan.
And I think we can use, you know, if we need to broaden that capacity, we can. But when you set the goal of creating a comprehensive plan, this was the intended outcome.
This is the steps.
So since we've already, we have to continue moving through. So, but I appreciate, but I know the sentiment you're saying.
Like the goal,
I know.
Make sure we're not setting staff up
I
for
will-
failure.
I will clarify too that we will hire a consultant to support that work. It will not be only staff driven. It will certainly be staff managed and lots of staff input, but we will have a consultant that we will bring on board for that work. And I'll put that, you know, that's part of that next step.
And I think to your point, Teddy, from the goal itself, pacing will be tied to that staff capacity. So if it takes longer because we have to, you know, push meetings out or whatnot, but I think we need to start the.
That's fine. I just had to throw it out there.
Nope. Right. Heard and understood. Yep. Okay. Pursue grant funding for the comprehensive update of the 2013 Telluride Historic and Architectural Survey and initiate phase 1 of the THAS update. Any questions on that? Okay. Then, oh God. All right, moving to foster and support community events and services. We continue to offer social gatherings for our tenants twice a year. Again, that could be something that's more operational, but we can keep it as a goal as well.
That needs to be, if we're looking to edit this, that doesn't feel like it needs to be on this list.
Okay.
But
I
let's
agree.
keep doing it.
Okay, great.
Have we done it? What social gatherings?
I don't think it
I
has.
live in the.
No, it hasn't happened yet.
So
So
continue.
maybe it is offer
Yeah.
social gatherings
Yeah.
for tenants twice a
And
year.
that's what it was. I mean, there hopefully will,
I was
there will be, we still, the year's not over. So the goal, if you looked at it from last year, is kind of with the sentiment you have. So they still plan to create that this year. And it would be continuing into next year. But if you want to get rid of
Let's
it,
do trunk or treat in the Shandoka parking lot. Where the,
I'll let them decide. Then maybe the resident advisory committee will have,
who's them?
maybe the resident advisory committee.
When did they start?
We're working to get the meeting scheduled. We're not getting much response for some of the participants as we're trying to nail it down the date. But hopefully here in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
Wait, so if this hasn't happened,
It can't say continue.
or.
Well, it will, the goal is it will happen this year, but we can get, I don't know, I don't want us to get hung up on the word continue. I'm happy to change that. But also, do you want to have this called out?
I mean, part of me feels like if it didn't happen, then we need it on the list, but I agree that it's kind of small to be taking up space on this like really
Yeah.
high level list that we've been.
Okay.
Wastewater.
Yeah, like this and like gondola funding, like this
Yeah.
doesn't.
This feels like this can be easily communicated to
Right.
the,
Like in the management.
Have a water party.
Dan,
Okay.
can you keep us
Put it on the
posted on the resident advisory committee, and their appetite to, like, maybe people don't even.
Set
want
their
it.
first meeting.
Yeah.
As I say, he will if we ever get a first
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe it's more community gatherings.
Well, thanks. Oh, he's there on the team.
I just texted him and emailed.
We have to jump on the teams from here real quick.
It's supposed to be.
Okay, so I got rid of it. But heard to do it or continue doing it, however that.
or some,
Okay, so this one was put in by staff, so it's establish a community planning committee to develop the vision, program, partnerships and funding strategy for the Telluride's 150th anniversary celebration in 2028. So 2028, 150th anniversary. I think it's important that it doesn't fall strictly on the town to celebrate that, but hopefully we can get the community as a whole to plan and participate in something to celebrate the town. So this was established.
Is there a specific date when Telluride was incorporated and founded? Do we have that?
There is, I don't know.
Yeah.
it was David Lavender's
Nobody does.
grandfather or great grandfather who went to Denver and did the paperwork. So yes, there is a date.
Okay,
We can find it.
let's find it and memorialize that. I think it would be nice. to have
Yeah.
it, Or
Oh,
be
for
like,
sure.
you know, close.
And I think the committee will do that, but just like the 200th or 150 that we kind of saw this year, like I think it's an opportunity to really bring the community together in lots of different ways.
Sure.
That should not just be on the town, but the community as a whole.
The museum was integral in the, whatever the 250th and 150th celebrations.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of
Sorry,
insight.
it was the museum. Yep, and the tourism board as well.
They got like
Brought to-
awards. and stuff.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
yes,
So I think the museum will
we
be
can
a big part of
establish the committee for this.
But just getting ahead of it, I think next year and giving ourselves that year to plan instead of panicking in the next year. Okay. Enhance public use of parks and rec facilities through community event offerings. This was, I don't know, Stephanie, if you're on, but this is kind of the sentiment that we always have gotten through council. But again, maybe it's more of an operational thing.
I was gonna say this feels like one of those like obvious things that we should be doing, but doesn't necessarily need to be on this list. And like, what does enhance mean? Like, it doesn't feel specific enough to be its own goal.
Agreed, but support community events.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you have any?
That other goal and what will
Yeah.
town's future role be for events in general?
Yeah.
I can see taking this off and it's a broader discussion.
Do you-
down the road.
Hold on. Stephanie, do you have any comments?
The goal behind this or action behind it is doing more of what we did during the ski area shutdown.
That's right.
The ice rink, having community skating parties and doing events at the pool to just expose people to our facilities who might not already be taking advantage of it, both community members and visitors. So this is not a special event. These are just offerings that are.
It sounds like what you're saying is like that Parks and Rec, these would be Parks and Rec led.
Correct.
Or events versus just the public coming and using the spaces. Right? These are like actual events that the Parks and Rec is going to lead.
I mean,
So
it
as
would
a town
would be
to
an
the
open.
community.
Yeah, it's like we did during the closure, we hosted free
not like
ice
sign
skating.
up for softball. No.
Yeah, with music and with hot chocolate and free rentals or not free rentals, but free access. So yeah, I think it's just, and it's an operational thing that we'll do regardless. So up to you if you want it on the list.
Again, maybe it's one of those.
I'm gonna defer to staff capacity on this one. Sounds great. It feels like there is demand for some of this. Your department, Stephanie, has a decent amount on your plate, I would say at least. So if you feel like you can meet this and help run with it and lead it, I think that it can be successful, and it was successful during the ski resort shutdown. So I think you have at least some evidence for that, but this is definitely a nice to have. And I think I gotta defer to Ted. Do you want to undertake this at this time?
Yep, staff recommended it. I think it's a feel-good item that we could all use. We hear a lot about people wanting to gather informally, formally. So yeah, this is staff-driven and something that I think is a good thing. And if we can report on events quarterly to you all, I think that'll show some improvements perhaps too. So I would keep it on for the current sentiment of the community and our willingness to do it.
Excellent.
Great.
I mean, can we, instead of enhance, can we say like
Expand.
increase or expand? Yeah, enhance just feels like, what does that mean?
Yep. Yeah. However you want to phrase it, it's fine with me.
Okay. Expand public use of Parks and Rec to community event offerings. Great. Continue to offer outreach and educational sessions for the rental housing policies to the public and tenants. And this is in partnership with Kathy. Delaney, I don't know if you're on, but if you want to memorialize that as the goal as well. Okay, I don't know if she's on. Thoughts on that one?
I'm soft on it. It can maybe continue. It ties into other PIO elements and also the rental advisory committee.
Yep.
So I feel like we could maybe scrap this one
Okay.
because it's incorporated elsewhere.
Sounds great. Okay. Getting rid of it. Perfect. All right, moving on to consistent outreach to public in a multilingual and accessible manner. Develop trainings and resources to promote understanding of historic preservation, planning, and building codes, guidance, processes, and resources is the first one, especially as we kind of move through some of those other elements. Any questions on that?
Would that be like a retreat with council at Hark? Or
Public
Council
forums
Lindsay,
mainly.
or public?
Yeah.
I feel like we maybe kick this one till after we've done the land use code updates.
Okay.
Well, I actually feel like there's some things in the design guidelines and interpretations that still require this. I'm thinking about the floodplain issue.
Which, right.
And fire and the fire resiliency code. Like, I don't know if this is just land use code.
No,
or-
because for instance, we're doing that exact thing on August 25th, like to go with the.
Yeah, so I
community
would-
for a forum. on
I would
this
say
item.
that even though we're doing land use code revisions, I still think this is broad enough that it feels relevant.
Mhm.
I just don't want to have to do it twice, but you know,
But
if
they're
it
different
feels,
things.
sure,
Yeah,
yeah, point is fair.
And this is kind of a difficult thing too, just like, this is part of our communication strategy. Like when the town implements new things, we hold forums for the community. Before we implement new things, we have forums for the community to tell them what we're about to do. Like, it's already integrated in our communication strategy, some of these elements. So
Then does it need to be a goal?
that's up to you
If this
guys
feels
as
like
well.
it's included in the
Mhm.
operational
Mhm.
aspects of
Yeah, I do.
historic preservation and planning, then I'm okay with eliminating it, but
Yeah.
I think we still need to be
Yep.
doing these.
Yeah, and as it is part of the town's communication strategy, it will be.
Okay,
This
then I'm okay
and
with
other
removing it
departments. Okay.
in that case.
Okay.
Okay, I just read that goal differently than just a communication piece.
Is there anything else that I'm missing, Kristen, that you would like to champion for that
Do you
goal?
wanna talk?
I mean, it's fine. I just felt like develop trainings and resources to promote understanding is more
Yeah.
like, that felt like we're gonna have classes or we're gonna have like, that just felt bigger than just like, we're gonna communicate. I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah.
but I'm also fine. It's fine.
Again, I think it's more centered on the forum piece, but also like, when we develop FAQs or, some of those guiding application documents and things like that. Kristen?
Sure. So these relate to what we did this fall when we had new building codes get put into place, and we did a great educational session that was a packed house here. We had a lunch for our contractors, builders, community to go over the updated building codes. We are going to have another session on August 25th where we're focusing again for the architects, builders, arborists, property owners, anyone who would like to come, contractors, focused on the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code, the floodplain regulations, and our construction mitigation plans. So just a couple times a year, or 2 or 3 times a year, trying to get that group of our constituents, our department's constituents together to really focus on what they need and information sharing. The other piece we might do, this is on my wish list, we'll see that the capacity piece has prevented this thus far, is I would very much like to get all of the landowners of historic homes, all our contributing structures, supporting structures together for an educational session where we talk about state grants, opportunities, resources. Basically, they're the stewards of our history here in this community, and I'd love them to get to know each other, become more of a community of our historic preservationists as independent property owners, and give them those educational tools so that they can maintain, restore, steward their alley structures, their historic homes, et cetera, with all the support and resources available. So bring in state speakers, et cetera. That's a wish list one, but the others are just critical priority needs.
I'm calling out me.
That I think are, again, part of our larger communication strategy as
Yes.
well.
But
Good
we're doing
point.
it already.
Yeah,
We need to
exactly.
set a goal.
I think the sentiment is no, that
Okay.
it's kind of an operational thing, so.
Okay.
That it is going to happen, just like we talked about, like, this does not all encompass everything that we're doing as a town, but really what we're pushing for the community. Okay, this next goal encompassed a lot of sentiment. So that is why it is long. Do with it what you wish. Again, a lot of this is also just our communication strategy and defining it here as an action item of also kind of what we're trying to accomplish. So here we go. Advance the town's communication strategy by expanding multilingual outreach across social media, video, print, and traditional media platforms, using approachable, creative, and engaging content to humanize local government and strengthen community connection. Implementing new tactics consistent with the communication strategy and providing ongoing internal training to build staff capacity and ensure public information remains consistently accessible. Provide clear, accessible public education and engagement regarding major infrastructure projects, including their purpose, community benefits, anticipated impact, time, and cost, and funding needs. Offer public forums and other community education opportunities to improve understanding of public finance, town services, major infrastructure improvements, and other community interests. I think I had like 4 different people's sentiment in this, but it all really boils down to just our communication strategy. There's not.
Is that written somewhere?
Do we have, I don't know, Lindsay, do we have I know internally we have our communication, but I don't know if that's a public document that we share, but yeah, I mean.
Yes, we have an internal communication strategy document. It's refined on an annual basis and then reviewed by the team, by the manager's department, and reviewed by the team and adopted by the end of the year every year. So we revise it every year over the course of the year, and this will be readopted internally by the end of December. But everything that was relayed in this goal is written in that strategy and guides all of the communications efforts throughout town departments. So just so you know, this is already a guiding document and principle for every single department and staff member within the town.
I have a couple comments. I think it makes a lot of sense that we have this kind of thing going on because it responds to the community survey, which really spoke to, declining trust in the government. I still think this is a bit wordy, but I'm sure we can finesse that. The one other thing I would add is just, and maybe it doesn't go right here, is, having a 10-year financial projections and then a 10-year capital spending plan. And I don't know where to put that.
So that's part of
And it
our
may-
budget process,
Yeah.
which we provide 5-year outlook, but
That's fine.
you just give us direction. And I don't know if that needs to be a goal. I think you're just giving direction within our current processes.
I think if you're asking the 5 or 10 years, I think with the major projects coming in the pipeline that are, when they certainly extend out past 5 years, I think a 10-year plan, at least at this time, is.
And how is high level?
I just feel like that feels like we're taking a big shot in the dark and we don't really know. So much is going to potentially change on the scale of those projects and grant funding that we receive. The implications for our budget
For instance,
is
like,
anyone's guess.
we don't have numbers and we'll not be putting numbers in for like the wastewater treatment plant or for the gondola. We will not be putting projections out there at this time because that creates a lot more confusion and things like that. We know that we need to work toward that, but in no way are we memorializing that in a financial planning document.
I mean, I think it would be helpful for the community, even if it doesn't have specific numbers, that you're kind of saying, here's these projects and here's kind of where they fall in over the next 10 years. So it looks like it's spread out more than, people's perception is, oh, we're gonna build a gondola and a water sewer system and.
I think
and
I think the
all this
narrative of
going
that
on.
is always what I share is like, yes, we will be responsible in that planning and make sure that we take that all into consideration as we tackle it. Again, I don't know which year we're gonna be replacing the gondola, and I don't know the exact year that we're gonna be replacing the wastewater treatment plant. We keep moving toward those and refining them as all this information comes, but that's why we usually, we put sentiments like within the goals and objectives of, work on these things, but to have a formalized outline and triggers year over year of, in this year we're doing this. That's just not a reality of a document at this time, other than a sentiment. Yeah. Sorry, Dan, you're gonna say.
No, I think you've encapsulated it. And yeah, I hear those in our community who are very loudly banging the drum of the town is being financially irresponsible. We're undertaking too much debt. I think that is a false narrative, and I think it speaks more to the need to have effective communication strategies of here's where our planning process is, here's what else needs to entail before we have at least a broad enough shape to start to work through the financials of this aspect. There's things that are unknowable to us, such as how much grant funding we're going to receive from the government at this point. And it is a shared value of financial responsibility, and we always undertake independent budget audits every single year, which we've always passed. And that type of communication is more necessary to refute that false narrative, that's my word, but that false narrative in our community and those who are banging it.
I agree with that, and I think this second part of this where it talks about the major project, that there needs to be enhanced communication and clarification on, the false narratives out there are false, and here is the real, because you're going to have to at some point convince everyone of these projects. And if we let the false narratives continue, we will never overcome those false.
I mean, I think part of it is getting people to pay attention to our information, because all of that exists, but people don't use it. And so I think, and I come back to this a lot, I think we need to increase engagement with our social media, particularly because that's where a lot of people get their information. Like we have the Engage page. I would say like maybe like 5 to 10% of like the Facebook trolls are actually looking at our engaged page. Like all that information is there, but people aren't going towards it. So I think we should have more strategies connected with our easier channels that help educate in maybe more layman's terms. But, you know, I don't think we're necessarily using all those tools to their capacity. And I think part of that working is having engaging content that does humanize what we do a little bit. And I think that might have even been my word.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I always reference Durango, like they have the best social media. And I think we need that type of engaging content that even just like feeds the algorithm so that when we push out something important, people are seeing it. But digestible, like all the information exists, but we need to figure out how to put it in the format and on the platforms that people are more willing to use or don't need to dig as much to find.
Yeah, I think it's in response to like Livable Telluride, because they're putting it in a format that people are engaging with. And so how do we counter with, it's not even counter, it's just have better analysis available for people to consume in a way that they're willing to consume it.
Yeah, and it's different for so many different people. So that's why, again, I'm gonna lean on Lindsay as a professional and our communication strategy. So yes, and all of the things you're saying, we're working on. Durango has a staff of 6 communication people, but we are broadening in our bench on some of those elements too. And we'll continue to kind of invest in that as the importance is clearly there. And the more people engage, the more engagement we need, like more communication we need. And so I am saying we are being successful because we feel like we need to communicate more. And it's always just honing in on, we can't communicate all and everything, but what are the successful strategies? So I think heard on that. Ashley, I don't know where I'm going with that. Oh, Dan first, sorry.
Yeah. This is where it's tough, and I think when in our meeting I use similar phrasing. I don't consider myself an expert in this realm, but it feels clear to me that we have missed the mark and sometimes in our communication strategies. I believe staff has heard that pretty clearly and is working to try new strategies, so I appreciate that. I don't think we want staff playing whack-a-mole necessarily with misinformation online, but I think that there has been a void that has been filled by other actors who don't necessarily aren't always strictly factual or debating in good faith. And so I think we gotta get into that void at least some to Elena's point, and I would agree with that. That's all I have. Thank you.
And yeah, and we'll keep working through that. I think fundamentally, I'll just tell you on this one, and I think we're doing a good job. Communications for every single goal that you have listed falls on communications plate. So the more that we do, the less that we do, the more capacity we have to really broaden some of those elements. So I think, again, when you're going through this, you're doing a good job, but I think we can memorialize the goal. But I think the sentiment is there within our operations as well. So however you want to tackle this piece through that.
I will say this, every other board, literally every other board that I sit on or commission or whatever, communications is something that everyone is working on, trying to improve, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I am almost, after like sitting through and like hearing all of this, I feel like perhaps one of our goals should be to add a staff member to the communications.
Yep, and you will go through that through your budget process. We don't add staff to council goals and objectives, because we get that input. So many of our department heads are like, we'll put in, add this. Yes, so we'll discuss that. We have a part-time employee right now. The reason it's a part-time, we didn't have the budget capacity within the funds to do that. We most likely will be in a similar place this year, so we'll have to look at that give and take within the with where you're at. Why we do staff is to accomplish your goal. So you don't need to come up with the operational tool. Again, that's the how part, and the council is the why and what. So staff is kind of the how. What is the why and what? That's what you're defining.
Increased communication.
Great.
And effective strategy.
Great.
For communication.
Do you want, is that the goal? Like, do you want to get rid of all this other words?
I think you got it.
I mean, again, I took a lot of people's sentiment, because everyone had a comment on communication.
I think.
So I agree, it's way too much.
But I agree with what Ashley said, that, like, expand communication or increase communication. Like, I see this as one of the foundational pillars of everything we do.
100%.
To me, that is our smallest department.
Yeah. Well, it was a non-existing apartment a couple years ago,
Right,
so yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and I think
That's like, there's so many, it's like.
it can be acknowledged in this space that we got started on this late compared to peer communities, because we had leadership that didn't support this as early as other municipalities adopted these strategies.
And Mountain
So
Village
we're
is a
like
similar
catch
town,
up.
and we have more staff than they do at this point, so. You know, I think it just speaks to more our community and the evolution of where we are in our community, and not necessarily that we're behind any.
Well, we were late adopters of social media.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I
I'm not
think
gonna get.
That
yeah,
can be
yeah,
said.
yeah,
It was Greg.
Yeah.
He was so opposed to this.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
you know, it can be acknowledged that we got here later than other communities, and maybe it's the reason why we feel like we're having to play catch up a little bit in figuring out how to structure this, and like creating the department kind of recently, like that is wild. So
Yeah. So I think I've heard, I mean, the general aligned sentiment, I can get rid of most of these words.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, because again, my job was not to dismiss other people's input, but make sure it's here for your discussion. Simply some kind of sentiment of expanding communication.
That works for me. I like
Great.
expand versus.
And I'll work with you, Lindsay, on kind of some wording with that.
yeah, and I think just to like highlight things like approachable and engaging content, that feels important if we're gonna add any detail to this.
Totally. And just so you all know, there is a portion of the communication strategy that defines our tone, and every piece of the work that we do from a communications perspective is based around that tone. It's always meant to be engaging. It's always meant to humanize the work we're doing. It's always meant to be empathetic. So that hasn't changed and will not change, but bandwidth has been a major limiter as a one-person communications team developing this from the ground up.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I won't dismiss your point. Like, we didn't even have a brand before, like the amount of foundational work that we had to focus on to bring us to where we are today. I'm very proud of the work that Lindsay has done and kind of where we are, but yeah, we need to keep evolving on that. So I get it. Great. Glad everyone's comfortable with it. We'll come up with something that's more just focused on expanding communication, approachable, engaging communication, and understanding the sentiment in that. Perfect. Okay, then this is another one from you all. Support smart and regional partners in providing clear coordinated communication regarding gondola planning, funding operations, and future project milestones. Again, we can have this as a call out, or we can just do it. I'll let you.
I would
about it.
Just do it.
Just do it, because you can't pull smart out of this. If you put smart in here, then you're gonna have to talk wastewater, then you're gonna have to talk so many things that I think it's more just do it versus a goal.
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. Great. All right, now we're moving on. Anything within that focus area that we missed or I missed from our discussions? Okay. Moving on to protect health and quality of life, implement our environmental action agenda. This coming from you, continue to transition the town's transit and broader municipal fleet toward electric and lower emission vehicles by pursuing grant funding to replace aging vehicles and equipment, including our public transportation buses. Yeah. Okay, anything on that? Continue to advance and incorporate planning for thermal energy networks. Darren provided me a note, so hold on. He would like to say thermal energy networks, geothermal and or geo exchange infrastructure, just because they're different and we want to be all encompassing. In the Shandoka Lot L and Carhinge development and Town Public Works building on Black Bear Road project, evaluated for 2026 thermal energy network feasibility and scoping studies. AKA continuing to work on that type of infrastructure within these projects. Okay,
Maybe Telluride want to be part of that.
if they want to pay and yeah.
You're gonna leave me out of it?
It's adorable that you think that Telluride Lodge has money.
Well, save them.
Well, of course.
We- it's
One
special.
of them are-
Yeah, you want to know part about
Nothing.
It's John.
Okay, moving on, collaborate with grant funding consultants to initiate community building energy benchmark effort in service to develop community building performance standards and a building retrofit program. So again, we already have a grant for this project run through the state, and it goes through 2029, and that was building up with your previous year's goal. Any questions on that? Okay. Continue expanding charging infrastructure for town operations and public use, including the charge ahead funded stations near Lot B and Colorado Avenue and Spruce Street. Again, continue to work on the grant that we have and finding the appropriate places to put those infrastructure elements.
Sorry, is Lot B the one by Longwell?
Correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Develop and adopt required 5-year update to the town climate action plan. So cyclically, we are at the 5-year update mark for the climate action plan. Any questions on that?
Oh, God.
I know. Yep.
We're so screwed. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it's been adopted in the purpose. If you guys want to push it or anything like that, we can take your guidance. Okey-dokey. Okay, and then these came from two councils or our conversations. Evaluate the need and feasibility of creating a community system for residents to donate or redistribute finished compost for local use. I kind of put the note of, I think other community partners are working on this as well. We've already seen some of the other work that we're doing, so the capacity balance. But I'll let you have that kind of discussion.
That's me, I'll claim it. I feel like this is part of our resource recovery system that is missing. And it does have challenges. But I think because we have so many residents living in town developments, it could be feasible on some scale. And one of the challenges, there's two that I've seen. One of them is, we only had 2 companies bid for compost the last time we redid our.
Just Bruin.
Well, it was Bruin and Dirty Sturdy.
Oh, Dirty
So
Sturdies. I forgot
Sturdies
Dirty Sturdies, excuse me.
He's not
Yeah,
operating right
thank you.
now. Okay.
You're right, I'm
Right
wrong.
there.
Never gonna know.
And so that was a challenge. And then, there are people who are privately composting, but then it's like, what do you do with the compost if you don't have a patch of tomatoes in your
Yeah.
non-existing yard? So I think maybe
For me,
this is broad, but
yeah.
I would love to keep, it's small, but
I think from a
Sorry, I'm confused about what you're asking. So when you're saying community system for residents to donate or redistribute finished compost for use, you're specifically talking about, I have a compost pile that I have created. My material now is ready to be put on top of the tomatoes, and you want us to receive that and then create a distribution system?
I think this got more specific in the final wording of it
Okay.
than I meant for it to
Okay.
be. I think the intent of it was that it was broader, that can we incorporate compost into our resource recovery plan?
Like compost collection, like people would be able to put out with their recyclables, a
Yes.
compost bin that would get
So
collected.
we already have tried that and are trying that based on previous goals in our contract with Bruin. So Bruin started a compost collection.
There's a.
We invested into their pilot program based off your last goal. And it is what it is, at this point. So that's already something that's happening based off of previous year's discussions and just the realities of the partners that we have in that.
Do we see how the county evolves with their compost facility?
And I'm just gonna be honest, these discussions have been going on for over a decade, like a lot of this stuff.
Right, I mean-
So for me, what I'm gonna hone in on is staff capacity And just knowing the realities of the administrative work to look at some of these things, especially when the town is taking it on.
I think the perhaps lower hanging fruit might be conduct review of compost pilot program and examined possibilities for expansion. Would maybe be, you know, and that would incorporate some of these ideas, you know, it is not that, but I feel like it is better to try to support an already existing business that is working to utilize these in our town than trying to create or expand a new program.
Yeah, I will be honest, I didn't even know that Bruin was doing a pilot program. And I think that would be kind of the first piece is like, how is that going? Not going.
Right.
So
they're focusing on a couple, they focused on commercial and a couple of multifamily units. So I think it's going, I don't know, I think it's going.
So if the goal is to kind of change to like what Dan said, like evaluate Bruin.
Sure.
Like, is that really a goal? Like, isn't that just part of what we would do anyway?
Yeah.
Well,
And yeah.
I think I brought this up because I would love to see this program expand. Like, I think we started this right when I got elected. So it's been like 2.5 years and we haven't really looked at it, talked about it, figured out if there is viability, figured out if like we need, you know, if it's not working and I should
yeah, I mean, because I think, yes, so this maybe is sounding more like that we need to organize a work session on an agenda. I don't know if it's a goal for this year. I'll let you guys discuss, you know, do that now, but I think that I definitely hear an action of let's have a work session just around compost in the region, because like I said, there's so much history to this. Mountain Village attempted one at VCA that they administered themselves with Dirty Sturdy. Now that's, you know, there's been lots of tried compost solutions that there's lots of history on. And we have ones currently that we gave, I think, $10,000 through a portion of our grant that we had to help Bruin in this compost pilot. So I think we can give an update of where that is. Maybe that's a hold on what that means for 2027, unless you want to put something in here. But regardless, I hear that we need to do a work session.
Okay, I'm okay with removing it from the list because this is like one of my special interests. So yeah, or unless the other people feel passionately about compost.
I think we can also touch on it perhaps in our climate action plan update.
That's right, bring it up.
Okay, perfect.
Sure.
I think we'll do
Yeah,
that.
it feels like
Good
part of
point.
this
Right.
comprehensive.
All right.
Darren has the same thing.
Oh, Darren,
Oh,
are you there, Darren?
Okay, yes, sorry, I was struggling to unmute. I think the discussion has kind of moved on from where I was going to just raise a flag on the wording about distributing compost for use, because I think there are regulations involved with that I would be a little nervous, you know, without like actually permitted, you know, there's a grading system for compost product, and distributing things officially to residents that they might want to use to grow food or even just landscaping. If we were not permitted to do that, that could be a whole ball of wax. Happy to look into it for sure. And just reiterate what Zoe said, that the county is pushing again to look for a place nearer to town to collect composting. So I'm participating in conversations on that all the time. So it's definitely top of mind. And yeah, I just wanted to flag that about the regulatory side of compost, unfortunately.
All right, so I think we'll just know that there'll be a sentiment for that discussion within the climate action plan. And then we just as council will work with Teddy and look at where we can do a work session just on compost to give you guys an update. Okay. Next one, strengthen partnerships. Okay, this is also, if you want to talk about this, Elena, strengthen partnerships with regional food access organizations and explore farm to community program that connects locally produced food with residents experiencing food insecurity. I will just kind of add a little bit of sentiment that's specifically like the Mountain Village Food Farm to Community Program, which I helped with. It is a lot of staff capacity, administration time, and about $100,000 for budget, if not more. So capacity and budget are huge on this one.
I think I would highlight this one as like a big potential benefit for the input. I know, but like this year's gonna be a tough year to find extra money to do anything, but I feel like we we're not, I don't know if we're officially a food desert, but sometimes Telluride can feel like a food desert. And anything we can do to help with food insecurity and connecting people to good, healthy, local food in a way that, can kind of support some of our climate action goals too, I think is worth exploring. We get, the community survey gives us a lot of information. There's not affordable food, there's not affordable restaurants. What are the actionable things that a government can do to help with that, to help with the cost of living, and promote like physical health if we're getting people good, healthy food. This is just like something that I've heard really good response from about the program in Mountain Village, and I know it's a big lift, but our neighbors are doing a really cool thing and doing a good job, and it's something that I think I would love to explore. And I know it's a big,
It's a big, yeah. Someone who just did it, it takes up a lot of staff time. So I think you have to get rid of some other of the things if you want to do this.
This was our wish list. This is my wish list.
But, and like I said, I'll leave that conversation for you guys. I put the realities of the resources. So if you want to do this, what are we getting rid of?
Well, and I think, is it in conversation? I know we have the food bank, and we have the fresh food hub. Is it a way that we collaborate more with those existing nonprofits?
And it is in collaboration with the Fresh Food Hub, but they don't take on, yes.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if they have the capacity to do it, but, it doesn't take away any of the other sentiments that I've shared.
I think that I agree with Elena and think that this is something that we should look into. I know that food bank funding has gotten cut pretty significantly, not locally, but nationally. And the way that the food banks work, it's kind of like a tree system. So it's they get distributions, and as the bigger, big organizations don't get those, then the smaller regional places get less and less. So I don't know. I think that I know that it's staff time and stuff like that. Is this where our new region designation stuff could is there any sort of funding that opens up for plans like this to help with affordability? And
it should have an easier ability to raise money, so any nonprofit that was doing this kind of work should be able to raise that money more readily because they get tax credits. Any Colorado donor gets massive tax credits.
So I can talk to maybe it's open the conversation with the Fresh Food Hub if they're willing to do that work. I know for them, it was the administrative burden of managing the program, so they did not manage the program, but if they could raise the money. I think if you want next year to be that feasibility with regional partners and capacity, I think we've got to look into that piece.
Well, and I think this could tie into if the food bank moves into the Lot L, the Lot L development. I feel like there could be an expansion of what we're able to assist with. And I feel like, this comes up consistently, food's not affordable.
And explore so we don't try to solve it right now, because if we're trying to end in 20 minutes.
Sorry.
Yeah. And it is Explore Farm Community Program. So we can, as long as everyone's very comfortable of just, maybe it's a work session or something on this.
Yeah, I think work session, I'm having trouble trying to decipher which, is this an angle of affordability to the people more in crisis mode for food, or more of the locals, I know the Mountain Village program and the food desert of the restaurant scene versus what is provided at Clark's was what provided with locals. And I'm having trouble deciphering between those two for the goal. I think a work session to try to figure everything out would be good.
Okay, so we'll just leave it for goal net for next year of just very clearly explore this type of work. Okay, and maybe capacity with regional partners.
It'd be
Cause
great.
like the food, maybe the fresh food, I was like, no, we have enough, like, we can't, we don't have that partner, then we can't move forward either. Or the food bank, okay. Okay, we already got rid of, the next one, so. We don't have to have that conversation again. Moving on to prioritize, the safety and security of our community. The first one is continue working with federal and regional partners to maintain strong floodplain protections, assess, and improve stormwater infrastructure, drainage systems, and flood mitigation needs. Review local monitoring and warning systems and strengthen the town's overall flood protection, preparedness, and resilience. So, again, Kyle's doing a lot of work on that with our, stormwater infrastructure and drainage systems as well. And you'll see that in your, capital.
Is this where the Galena, stuff might come into play here?
Yeah, I mean, and already yes, big picture, any Galena, literally any other stormwater in the town. So.
Galena, the most recent.
Yeah. But like, that's why we're doing the PRV at Davis Street, there's a lot of improvements that we continue to do throughout our roadways. But happy to keep that on there, as it was kind of a sentiment, but also operational, okay? I don't know why these are bolded, so sorry, but, issue RFP and procure a consultant, develop a comprehensive mountain community resiliency and disaster recovery framework, addressing Telluride-specific hazards, including wildfire, single corridor isolation, and seasonal population impacts, covering continuity of government, evacuation planning, emergency communication protocols, defensible space considerations, and long-term recovery. So we have some of these foundational documents that just haven't been updated for a long time. So it's doing, especially now that we have the, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. And tying that into some of these updates. So that's what that is.
Support.
Okay. These are two as well, create bicycle patrol and enhance enforcement efforts to promote safe bicycle use and compliance with applicable regulations. I do think Josh is on, but Tom Kavanagh is already very interested in this, and they are pursuing this regardless. But it all depends on infrastructure limitations and over time, just for some of those considerations. So it will become operational if it works or doesn't work.
Can you expand on what creating bicycle patrol means specifically?
I don't know if you want to talk about the sentiment of this yours.
I mean, just in correlation with the OHV and foot traffic for bikes, like if there are cops on bikes, they can cover more ground, or just for enforcement stuff. It was just there used to be cops on bikes in town.
Yeah.
And they're not anymore.
They do car patrols and foot patrols.
Right.
So it's just another way to.
I think if you want to cut down the bicycle, whatever, the problems that are, going down the wrong side of the road, not, if you want to enforce that, you're gonna need to do that on bicycle. You can't expect them to
run
or
chase through in a car.
So if we feel like
Well, they have a lane.
bicycles.
And Josh is on to speak to it, if you have anything you want to add, Josh.
Hey, good afternoon. So yeah, we've already been looking at implementing a bike patrol program probably the last 6-8 months. We've had some challenges trying to find a instructor course that we can send somebody to that coordinates with our schedule. So we're looking at probably trying to bring up someone from Cortez PD that's already a certified instructor to train our staff. And we were hoping to offer this as kind of like a either on an overtime basis or on those days where we have more than 2 deputies working, so someone can take a bike out. As far as the enforcement goes, we've actually been having a lot of traffic stops this year on e-bikes, on educating kids and adults on that. It's been a point of emphasis this summer, and our deputies have making quite a few stops on both locals and visitors that are bringing their e-bikes and sometimes illegal e-motorbikes to town to try to ride.
What are some of the citations given, for examples on what those stops have involved?
So it can be stop sign violations. The e-motorbikes, those are flat out illegal for anybody under 16 to ride. It's treated as a dirt bike. Parents have purchased those bikes assuming that because it's an e-bike that falls under the same classification, that's absolutely false. We've put out some information on this on our social media towards the end of school, kind of warning parents about that. But those are the same bikes. So if we see kids riding those like motorcycles or e-motorcycles around town, they can get cited for or operating a vehicle without a license, having an unregistered vehicle on the roadway. So it'd be the same thing if a kid was just riding a dirt bike on the road. So we've been having some good conversations with groups of parents, educating on that as well, and letting them know that if we see that the bike can be impounded and there's pretty significant fines.
So I have a question for you on this.
Yeah.
If the goal is create and we're already in the process of trying to figure it out, do we need to go?
No, I don't think so. I mean, where are the realities? They could be implement if that's what you want to see. I mean, but again, we are already in the process of looking to create.
Yeah,
I mean,
if Marshall's already doing it, then that's fine.
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
can go, that's just a future work session down the
Great.
road, get an update at some point.
And then similarly, support community safety and personnel preparedness through defense, self-defense clinics and related educational opportunities. And again, I think Josh, is this something that you guys are doing or looking to do or?
Yeah, we have run women's self-defense classes in the past, specifically when we had the access to the community room behind us. We ran about 4 or 5 of those. Once we lost the community room, we kind of lost a place that we could hold those types of trainings. Recently, Deputy Moody provided the defense course to the women at Telluride Medical Center. We spoke with Kristen yesterday, and she had some really good ideas on some scenario-based training for it. So I think that's absolutely something that we can continue and love to do for our community.
Okay.
So kind of the same thing, since we're already doing it, pick it up.
Okay. Great.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, moving on. Anything else within that category? Okay. Moving on to cultivate economic sustainability and a thriving commercial core, marketing activities, explore opportunities to expand the scope of the Telluride Tourism Board contract or partner with the Telluride Foundation to strengthen community programming, support existing local organized events, and develop new initiatives, including a locals night in collaboration with town restaurants. This came from council. However, I just want to point out, we've already had a collective discussion about their contract. We did not broaden the scope of their contract. So I think this needs to change and you guys can have the collective discussion.
That was my exact thought. I feel like we just had this conversation. I'm fine with where we landed, but
Yeah.
others feel differently.
Yeah.
So I will get rid of it.
Right.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Then we move to, so we won't have a goal under marketing and tourism. And I think that's fine. Everyone else is good with
I think
that.
it's fine. I think we've renewed our contract.
Yep.
Yeah, we're good.
Community sustainability. What?
3 year.
It's a 3-year contract. Yep. Initial phase 2. Oh, we talked about this one. Wayfinding placemaking signage project to improve navigation, enhance public access, and strengthening sense of place for visitors. Phase 2's implementation in 2027. We'll have some sentiment within the parking element as well, but we can have this here for the broader wayfinding implementation. Okay. All right, moving on. Continue supporting the Telluride Foundation economic resiliency efforts, including participation in business advocacy discussions and exploration of potential chamber of commerce or similar business support structure. Again, this came from one-on-one discussions. So again, we're hoping that the foundation will be leading this conversation, but we will take part in that.
I think that's
Yep, that's great.
Good with that, okay? Assess the extent, okay, so I'll just pause on these ones. The next 2 came from several sentiments around commercial vacancies. I did not put in strictly, implement a vacancy tax because I think there's so much work that would have to be done before that discussion. But again, when you look at this one, oh, sorry, I'm so bad at that. Where we are from that political staffing capacity piece. So less budget at this point, but that. Assess the extent, causes, and impacts of prolonged commercial vacancies, including whether they present a meaningful community or revenue concern. Continue engaging an independent third party to support the analysis, clarify the roles of property owners, businesses, market conditions in the town, and determine whether any further action is appropriate. So that one again is looking at the feasibility. We feel like there is an issue, but we haven't really identified the issue and also who is responsible for that. So if you guys if you feel like it's enough of a thing to warrant that, then we can engage in that piece. Obviously, the budget piece will be getting a third party to help with that analysis. That's something that we want to do.
I think I'm okay with this goal as it's written. I have a hard time imagining outside of a vacancy tax, what other mechanisms we can enact, but.
But you have to
think of
define,
everything.
yeah.
I mean, we could require that they do something nice looking instead of just like.
Like a temporary art installation.
Let's go to the next goal, but let's focus on this one first. Is that reach the sentiment that a lot of you had? Do you feel like that's the appropriate first step? Do we all collectively want to do that?
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
Assess the extent, determine whether further action is appropriate.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Advance Main Street vibrancy through strategies such as temporary art installations and vacant storefronts, and review design requirements for ground floor commercial spaces. Again, this is the sentiment of what does our code require now? Maybe we has changes to that code, and we'll look at that. Okay. Next one is be a leader in community in facilitating a more festive and economically positive December. I actually didn't know what this one meant, so this one's yours, Teddy.
Yeah, I just know that. I just don't think there's enough going on in December, and knowing that the economy is a big hot topic for our community, I would just like to see a more festive town of Telluride. You know, whether it's more European style or whatever, and that could be, you know, some type of, you know, installation in Elks Park. It could be, you know, carriage rides down Main Street. I mean, it could be things in Town Park. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what it is. But to be a leader, kind of wording it that way, like start the discussion of how can we create a better December, you know, because it's a dead zone.
Yeah, I'll pause. So these are the give and takes. Like, if you want to know, if you want to enhance our staff capacity and hire, you know, having the budget to hire more communication staff, you're asking a lot out of limited funds, and I think our lodging tax revenue, which plays mainly into this, is going to be stagnant, if not less. So there's lots of give and takes with taking that on, that responsibility as the town. So
having an event or discussing the event.
It depends. So it depends on what you want. Maybe I'm interpreting it. If the town is supposed to do sleigh rides down Main Street, that's a large, that's an expense that in a place where we have lots of give and takes within that budget.
Maybe it's explore programming and contracts, like maybe we contract out.
Or partnership.
Partnership
would be even better.
Yeah, but I think it's explore programming more than events. Right?
I'm not sure what it is. That's why I
Yeah.
want it to be part of a discussion.
But I
How
think-
can we make
Yeah, and I also feel like there are some low hanging fruit with this goal. One of them being maybe we spruce up the decorations a little bit more. Like there's more of an investment in in creating an environment that is more holiday centered, that we can advertise and bring, I don't know. I think that
And
there's
again-
low hanging fruit, and then there's obviously
Yeah.
all the way down to we're
Like
hosting
Elks Park be
events.
better. I mean.
Yeah, and I'm just give a taste in the budget.
And how we decorate Elks Park in the winter
Yeah.
overall, especially in December, is not
Yeah.
as subpar at best.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for us to start putting more, maybe like Ashley says, there's easier paths with least resistance to make it better and feel more festive. It just seems that with the lack of marketing support from Telsky to bring people here in December, decreasing amounts of snowfall, we have to do other things to get people out on our main street spending money and giving people more reason, especially in the recent.
Who manages the holiday prelude in Mountain Village? Is that TMVOA that does that?
TMVOA, yeah. And for us, that's the merchants. So it's merchants and Team VOA.
I would say maybe we
like foundation. I don't know.
Yeah, foundation, or maybe we as the town go to TMVOA and be like, we want to expand this kind of seasonal offerings, and maybe it's a partnership to have it not just be Mountain Village's holiday prelude. Maybe it's holiday prelude in both towns, and there's more of a investment in both places. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of,
I'd rather have us just keep this broad and then you can have the discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
and things like that. Because there's gonna be so many different avenues and once we start comparing ourselves to TMVOA and the giant pool.
not comparing, partnering.
But even partner.
But I mean, I think it's important, because again, I'm just gonna bring this down, and we can do this priority, but it is at the expense of staff capacity and budgeting.
I
It
think
is, it is.
I think exploring, and I'm not saying the event has to happen in December of 2026.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we gotta start having a discussion and it may be just creating a sense of awareness for what happens in December 2026, so you can plan for 2027. You know, and I know that's really tough budget wise because it's happened so late in the year,
Mhm.
but I think, again, December is not a fun month to tell you right.
Right.
It just isn't.
Can, as a part of this conversation, can we incorporate a review of CK's application and review processes to help remove bureaucratic obstacles or just try to promote or allow for the free market? It's not a slighted case.
So like,
It-
it's supposed to be nonprofit, but free market, but
Wow.
I would
that's what
say
you're saying.
Cause yes, I don't necessarily want the government to be an event producer in our town, and like, there's time, we do it at 4th of July and New Year's, and those are fine. But I don't really wanna go there, I want to streamline and remove obstacles for the free market to step in and to.
I mean,
take.
the application is pretty simple and Kate has never said no to an event in my like
Sure.
7 years being involved.
But you have to be a nonprofit. And-
No.
No, you don't?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sure
What
don't.
are you trying to?
Well, I don't know, I
2-page application with a lot of
Okay.
blank space.
and that's, that's
It's very
fair,
simple.
yeah,
It's a bigger discussion. Can we just have this be a discussion?
sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think we're keeping it as a goal strictly of just exploring programming and partnerships for a more festive December. Whatever, I'll add those pieces. Okay,
Put up some more lights.
yeah, maybe, switch paces. Yeah. Okay, guys, we're
almost done.
almost there. Come on, we got 4 more minutes. Anything else within these pieces? One thing, that I think the sentiment is there with the foundation and Chamber of Commerce, but any of the conversations around events or anything like that in town is not incorporated in the goals at this point. Like we've been having these regional discussions around events. Just want to make sure everyone's good with that. Okay.
That could be something brought up at the merchant meetings too. I mean, I attended that merchant meeting the other day and maybe just to discuss it with.
There weren't a lot of merchants at that merchant.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It was kind of just an update, like it wasn't.
Good luck with the chamber.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think events promoters are taking the lead on that, or event developers, I should say. Okay, moving on to, however, we're gonna incorporate some of these goals elsewhere, but strengthen organizational culture and accountability by advancing a learning and development plan to support effective values-driven leadership and teamwork. Again, this is something that we're doing. We can take it off, but we are investing more in training for our staff to ensure everyone is in line with certain expectations of what it means to be a town integrity employee. Thoughts of keeping it on before I can take it off?
Is that you're already doing that?
We are.
Our staff?
Yeah.
I mean, is that something that we need to oversee or be a part of?
No. Mm-mm. You don't oversee it other than a budget allocation.
I'm
Yeah.
fine leaving it.
Okay.
I don't know, I don't know.
Great.
What do you think, Patrick?
I mean, it's more of like,
I think.
We're moving this whole thing too, right?
Yeah,
we
so
wanna
now that-
Simplify it.
yeah.
Right.
We just simplify it and be like, make sure town thought as an employer of choice and let the staff dictate what they
Yeah.
wanna do to make sure that happens.
great.
Just simplify the whole thing.
And just make that the goal. I think that's great. Or sorry, the action. Yeah. Okay. Same with the sorry, I should check this off because this came from one of you. Improve operation process related to interdepartmental and interdepartmental event coordination. I didn't really understand what that one meant, but added it on there.
Is that me?
Yep.
I just wanna make sure that our departments, especially with communications, are communicating effectively. So as we have these changes and we'll use putting up the planning, zoning and Hark story polls and moving the parking and was that all done to the best of our abilities and just to make sure that happens? Can this be removed from a goal and just be more of a focus on staff? I'm totally cool with that.
And I will
Especially
say-
if we're condensing this employer of choice
Yeah.
thing, I just wanna make sure that I think we just need to be a little better in how internal communications between the departments to know what turns into back to the new aspect of political.
Yeah, I will say there's assumptions in that because we do definitely meet very regularly as
I know,
a board
I just.
on that, so. Maybe it's educating if you guys are curious on how we go about that, but do assume that yes, we are doing that as a.
We can take it off as long as you
Yeah.
know, as long as you're already identifying it and improving it, then that means the goal's already done and it can go away.
And then this is another broader one that came from council, but it's your last one. So support staff efficiency by advancing process improvements, technology training, interdepartmental coordination, and appropriate resource allocation to streamline operations and improve service delivery. So again, I think it's bringing more technology as it becomes available and advancing us forward, but this is something that we're always looking at the opportunities to do. So I don't disagree that I think maybe the general sentiment for this is the employer of choice and how some of these elements I can build into that generalist goal that we can kind of add in elsewhere, because I don't know if this is an item. I'm gonna leave that to you.
I would be okay leaving this as an
Okay.
item, just because I feel like this is a big direction we've been pushing for the town and for staff, and I feel like there's still progress that can be made here.
Yeah.
And this is one area where I kind of do feel okay calling this out specifically.
I think even as like AI advances, like
Yeah.
this is gonna be a moving target for a long, long.
Yeah, and that's why I hesitate to take this off of like I think if we're gonna have any specific call outs, this is a good one.
Okay.
I could maybe like edit it down. I mean, this is
Technology and training.
Yeah, I would almost like focus it a little bit more on like efficiency, technology, training, streamlining, like I don't know how you wanna, I feel like we could edit this down, but I do think it's important.
We'll use AI to do that.
Yeah.
I would get rid of improved service delivery. I think that makes it confusing. Or if there's something there that you need to keep, reword it.
Okay.
Does that all of a
But
sudden?
it's, the focus is enhancing our use of technology as it continues to.
For efficiency and streamlining processes.
My brain immediately went to, what we had talked about and kind of shelved, which was having a different delivery type service in town, with the restaurants and garbage and stuff, like the impact that that causes. And so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, then you did it. So, I thank you for taking that first stab. I will attempt to make sure to memorialize that. We will have, because of this, the packet will be posted tomorrow morning, because I need to integrate all of this into this work session, so I will do that. And then we'll have the conversation further on the 11th.
Thank you everyone for hanging an hour late. This meeting is adjourned by mutual consent.
And thank you to all staff members for participating.
Motion second.
Yeah.
Jazz
Are you,
Hi, did we get Jeff?
highly sought after